Chapter 757. Louis Han stood there for a long time, as if he was scared. Even he did not know how long he had been standing there. Looking down, the cigarette ash had fallen to the carpet, and the flame had burned to the butt. After a long time, Louis Han suddenly laughed, angry and sarcastic. Irritated, he walked into the bathroom, threw the cigarette butt into the toilet, and pressed the flush button. The sound of flushing rang. Seeing the cigarette butt being flushed away, Louis Han inexplicably felt a little relieved, as if something bad had been washed away. But thinking of what Luo Zhan had just done, he couldn't help but scratch his head and curse irritably, "Damn it! This is ridiculous." The wedding broadcast was unusually lively, unusually sensational, and unusually dreamy, causing a sensation all over the country. The news, the internet, the big screens in various shopping malls, and the small TVs on buses and subways were all about Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing's wedding. This kind of popularity was comparable to the presidential election ceremony in the United States. A slender and tall figure was sitting at the bar, making a cocktail. Wearing a red sequined fishtail dress, she had a sexy figure and a beautiful and delicate mask on her face, only revealing a small cherry mouth and a pair of beautiful big eyes. The customers who came and went gathered at the bar counter, their eyes staring straight at her. A beautiful woman was concentrating on concocting the wine. There was a smile on her lips. Her hot and beautiful lips were so beautiful that it was intoxicating. She enjoyed the infatuated eyes around her very much. With a wink, Tang Menjing handed out the cocktail and said, "Passionate Desert, which one is it?" "It's mine." A young and handsome man reached out his hand without hesitation. However, he deliberately put his hand forward and held Tang Menjing's exposed wrist, gently stroking it, and whispered, "Do you have a date tonight?" This was the famous masquerade bar in Kingstown, and the fun here was also very exciting. The bartenders here were often changed, because each bartender would be on duty after being carefully trained. With their skilled bartending skills and beautiful appearance, they brought benefits to the bar. On the surface, they were bartenders, but in fact, it was another kind of money and sex trade. The beauty pulled her hand back and pushed him away. She said in a low voice, "Stop fooling around. I'm still working." The young man chuckled and sat in front of her ambiguously. He said, "My passion is like a desert. This cup of passionate desert is for you." The beauty chuckled, "Really?" "Of course." The child smiled frivolously. "Why don't we have an in-depth exchange tonight and let you understand my passion?" "That depends on whether you will let him go or not." The beauty pretended to be in a dilemma. The young master chuckled and shouted, "Old Gao." Old Gao was the owner of this bar and he knew a lot of people. When he saw the young man, his expression suddenly changed. He smiled and walked over. "Young Master Zhao, what's wrong?" "This beauty, I want to take her away tonight. Do you have any objections?" When old Gao heard this, he smiled sensibly. "Of course, little Gua, why aren't you thanking young Master Zhao?" The beauty heard this and nodded, "Thank you, young Master Zhao. What's your name?" "Gua Xiaomei." Chapter 758. When Zhao was talking, he took off a watch and put it on the bar. "Thanks, Gao." Gao took it with a smile, "We are friends. Don't mention it." The beauty glanced at old Gao and then left with young Master Zhao. About half an hour after Zhao and the beauty left, a waiter hurried to Gao and cried, "Boss, Gua Xiaomei is in the changing room." Dead, in a magnificent 5-star hotel, Mr. Zhao led the beauty into a room. As soon as he entered the room, he impatiently pushed the beauty against the wall and kissed her passionately. Young Master Zhao's passion was like fire. He moved his palm and tore the bright red sequined fishtail dress that she was wearing. The beauty also could not wait. She peeled off his clothes and became even more passionate. "You little slut." Zhao laughed and took off his clothes. He reached for the condom on the bed, so impatient. Are you short of men? Not short of men, but men like you. Tang Menjing grabbed his crotch and couldn't wait to open it. Come on in. Zhao was ready and was not in a hurry to fight. He lifted her chin and said, let me see your face. Don't. Let's finish it first. As she spoke, she kissed young Master Zhao's face and sensibly caressed his face. Taking her hand away, Zhao was also happy to play this mysterious game. As he was getting more and more interested, Zhao held her with one hand and lifted her mask with the other. Under the mask, there was a fire scar the size of half a palm on the right side of her face. On the left side, there were two big scars drawn in the shape of an X. The bright red flesh was turned out. Some of it had scabbed, but there was more yellow liquid flowing down. When young Master Zhao saw this face, he was so scared that his whole body trembled. He quickly pulled away and was so scared that his whole body turned over and fell off the bed. Tang Menjing was not satisfied yet. She felt empty and said, I want more. Why are you running? Come here. Zhao was even less interested. He picked up his pants and put them on quickly. He turned around and left. Tang Menjing, on the other hand, went up and pulled him back. However, there was a huge difference in strength between a man and a woman. Unable to move him, Tang Menjing stomped her feet and said, why do you have to force me? You are so annoying. Ah! Young Master Zhao screamed. Seeing the small dagger in his arm, he turned pale with fright. You. Shoo, don't be afraid. Tang Menjing picked up the mask next to her and put it on. Come on. She pushed young Master Zhao onto the bed. Young Master Zhao was so frightened that he took a few steps back and shouted, You. Tang Menjing pointed the blood-stained dagger at him and whispered, be obedient. If you don't, I will put it in your throat. As she said that, she sat on top of him and helped him into her. She moaned, come on. Young Master Zhao was so scared that he was about to cry. He couldn't feel anything at all. He tried saying, wait a minute, can I find you a gigolo? Gigolo. Tang Menjing was wearing a mask and her expression could not be seen. However, her lips curled into a mocking smile and said, you mean, you don't want to do it with me? Dash. Chapter 759. Gigolo. Tang Menjing's face was covered by a mask, but her lips were curled in a mocking smile. You mean, you don't want to do it with me? Before Mr. Zhao could speak, Tang Menjing's hand was already in front of him. Frightened, Mr. Zhao screamed. Mr. Zhao closed his eyes and screamed. Tang Menjing giggled. Her voice was as clear and pleasant as a bell. Look at you. Don't be scared. Why don't you want to do something so comfortable? Come on, we are all adults. You were excited, weren't you? Just now was just now, but, after looking at her face, he could not bring himself to do it. Tang Menjing noticed his rejection and chuckled, but her eyes were even colder. Since you don't want to, I have to. Mr. Zhao looked resigned. He turned her over, pressed her on the edge of the bed, tore off her clothes, and closed his eyes. Tang Menjing narrowed her eyes and enjoyed it. Young Master Zhao wanted to cry but no tears came out. If word of this got out, it would be shameful. A man like him was actually raped by a woman. But regardless of her face, the taste of this woman was still very good. After it was over, Mr. Zhao lit a cigarette. For the first time, he felt that a woman's body was so alluring. The water in the bathtub continued to run until it overflowed and dripped on the floor. Tang Menjing sat on Mr. Zhao and suddenly chuckled. She pressed his shoulder and pushed him into the water. Mr. Zhao thought she was joking and did not mind. But suddenly, she pressed his face into the water. Mr. Zhao immediately felt a sense of crisis. When he was struggling to get up, he felt a sharp pain on his neck. In a blink of an eye, the pain pierced through his throat and through every nerve in his body. Mr. Zhao struggled crazily. The pain in his throat became more and more intense as air flowed out. Tang Menjing happily watched the bubbles bubbling up and could not help but laugh out loud. Blood dyed the bathtub and the bathroom red. Even Tang Menjing's body was full of red marks. Young Master Zhao's struggles became weaker and weaker. Finally, he lay in the water, his eyes rolled back. His face was filled with despair for the person above him, and the fear of death. "That's great." Tang Menjing kissed him on the cheek. "You have the same birthday as Li Xiqing. Otherwise, do you think you could sleep with me? If you're done enjoying it, then go die." He stood up and slowly washed his body. Then, he calmly dried his hair and dressed himself. Only then did he calmly walk out of the room. She went downstairs and hailed a taxi. This sexy and hot beauty quickly disappeared into the night. The twins' birthday was today, and preparations had started early in the morning. The old man knew that he didn't have much time left. Whatever he could do for his children and grandchildren, he would do it himself. He picked out cake patterns for Daesu and Ursu. Daesu liked cheese, and Ursu liked strawberries. The old man simply combined them into one and turned it into a cheese-strawberry cake. When the plane landed, it was already past 2 in the afternoon. The children had woken up on the plane and were in high spirits. They hopped off the plane and cheered as they returned home. Chapter 760. When the plane landed, it was already past 2:00 in the afternoon. The children had woken up on the plane and were in high spirits. They hopped off the plane and cheered as they returned home. The bodyguards came back with their luggage. Li Yao and Qin Shuhua came back with their grandchildren. Before they entered the door, they saw the old man waiting at the door and hurried forward. "Dad, it's so hot outside. Why don't you wait inside?" The old man didn't seem to hear Li Zhao's words. When he saw the children coming back, he was so happy that his face wrinkled and greeted the little babies. "Great-grandfather!" Li Jianqian shouted. "Hello, great-grandfather!" Li Mosin shouted politely. "Hug me, great-grandfather!" Li Jianrui was the most direct and reached out to the old man. The old man's face was full of pity. He picked up Li Jianrui and smiled lovingly. "Did you have fun this time?" "Fun." Li Jianrui happily hugged the old man's neck and said, "Mom became a beautiful bride, so beautiful." "Oh, bride, it's a pity that great-grandfather didn't see it, it's a pity, there's a video." Li Jianqian jumped over, holding a tablet in his hand, and said, "Great-grandfather, I'll show you the video." "Okay." The old man carried Li Jianrui in and sat on the sofa, letting Li Jianqian show him the video. The dreamy and grand scene had far exceeded the old man's imagination. He couldn't help but exclaim, "It's beautiful." "Is the scene so beautiful?" "Yes. The scene is more beautiful than this." Li Jianrui couldn't help but say, looking at the tablet, "There are more beautiful, a lot of fireworks, and there are a lot of stars in the sky. We can't see the kind of stars in Kingstown. So beautiful, so beautiful." The old man couldn't help laughing. He reached out and stroked her little head. He said, "Really, is Ursu happy?" "Happy." Li Jianrui smiled brightly. He, great-grandfather, look, this is Ursu, this is Daesu, brother Mosin is here, and the adults say we are so cute and beautiful." The great-grandfather touched the little girl's little head and said with a kind smile, "Our Ursu is the cutest little princess." When Li Jianrui heard the elders say that, she was a little proud. She snorted and looked at her brother. Li Jianqian ignored her and showed the tablet to Captain Li. About halfway through the video, Li Jianrui felt that something was wrong. She looked around and asked, "Brother, where is Brother Mosen?" Without looking up, Li Jianxian said, "Maybe in the room. Go take a look." "Okay." Li Jianyue nodded and ran into the room with her short legs. As soon as he entered, he found that the room was empty. "Brother Mosen." Li Jianyue went in, turned around, and shouted, "Brother Mosen." There was no reply. After the little guy circled around, he went out again. Little did she know that Brother Mosen, whom she was looking for, had walked out again. At this moment, by the small lake not far from the Li family's house, two figures, one big and one small, faced each other. Tang Menjing looked at the little guy with white skin and blue eyes, chuckled and asked, "Do you know me?" Li Mosen frowned and looked at the woman who was wearing sunglasses and a hat and was wrapped up tightly. Chapter 761. When Li Mosen heard this, he pouted his lips. Were all liars so unscrupulous nowadays? How stupid would he be if he believed a random person who claimed to be his mother? But he didn't say it out loud. Li Mosen held out his hand to her and said, "Didn't you say that you found my car? Give it back to me. My grandfather gave it to me. It's very important." Tang Menjing looked at the little pink hand that Li Mosen stretched out and smiled even more. She fumbled in her pocket and took out a small blue metal car. She asked, "Are you talking about this?" When Li Mosen saw this, his eyes lit up and he nodded. "Yes. My brother and I packed it ourselves. I thought it was lost. Thank you for picking it up." As he said this, he reached out and was about to take it. Unexpectedly, Tang Menjing took the car back and said, "How can you prove that this thing is yours? I picked it up near this pond. Your name is not written on it." Li Mosen was anxious and pointed to the old house of the Li family not far away and said, "My house is there. I often come here with my brother and sister. I left this here a few days ago and forgot to take it back. Now I remembered it and came to find it. I thought that no one would come here usually. I didn't expect that you would pick it up. Please give it back to me. It's really important to me. Really. I only know Li Xiqing of this family. Ask him to come and get it from me, and I'll give it to you. Li Xiqing is my father. He hasn't come back yet." Li Mosen pouted and was a little angry. "How can you be like this? I'm a child. I won't lie to you." Tang Menjing's attention was completely on his words. She sneered and said, "Li Xiqing is your father. Did he ask you to call him that?" Li Mosen was a little confused, but for some reason, he felt that Tang Menjing's laughter was a little strange. Taking a step back, Li Mosen looked at her and blinked. Tang Menjing squatted down and looked at Li Mosen. She said, "I'm your mother. Auntie, if you say that again, I'll be angry. My mother hasn't come back yet." Li Mosen looked at her with a serious expression. Wearing a mask, Tang Menjing smiled. "Su Qianxi is not your mother. I am the mother who gave birth to you." Li Mosen was stunned and looked at her. Subconsciously, he thought of the words the children used to tease him when he was in the orphanage. "Monster. Monster. How can anyone have blue eyes? You monster, no wonder your mother wanted to smash you to death when she gave birth to you. How pitiful. The monster can even stare at people. Let's quickly destroy the monster." Looking at the woman in front of him, Li Mosen took a big step back and said in horror, "You liar. Why would I lie to you?" Tang Menjing suddenly felt a sense of revenge. "Are you afraid of me? Why are you afraid of me? Don't tell me you know." Li Mosen's heart raced, and he turned to run. But Tang Menjing was faster. She caught him and said, "Where are you going?" "Mother is here." "What do you want to do?" Little Mosen struggled in fear. His little body twisted desperately and shouted, you are not my mother. My mother hasn't come home yet. My mother's name is Su Chinsi. Shoo, don't lie to yourself anymore. Tang Menjing lowered her eyes and hugged him tightly. She bewitched, you know she is not your biological mother. You don't fit in with this family. You know that, don't you? Dash. Chapter 762. No, no. His surname was Li, and his name was Li Mosin. Li Mosin struggled with all his might. His heart was filled with panic as he shouted, "Let me go. Grandpa, save me." Tang Menjing smiled, feeling the little guy writhing in her arms, and there was an indescribable satisfaction. Her son was still alive. Who knew where that bastard came from, but he was still alive and well in this world. What a magical feeling. After Su Chinsi and Li Xiqing got off the plane, they did not go back with them, but went to choose birthday gifts for the little guys. After walking around the mall for a long time, Li Xiqing bought a remote-control sports car for Daesu and a small train for Ursu. Later, Li Xiqing received a call from Li Jinan, saying that he needed to go to the company for a while and go to his grandpa's favorite cake shop to pick up the cake. Su Chinsi took a taxi home with the gifts. Dash, Shu, no one will come to save you. Do you think they really treat you as their child? They just sympathize with you and want to raise you to be a slave. Do you know what a slave is? It's those little eunuchs on TV who clean people's ass and piss. No. Li Mosin cried. They're different from you. What am I? I am your biological mother. I am the only one who treats you the best in the world. Of course not. You want to kill me, you want to kill me. You are a murderer, a psycho. If you run away and come back, you will be caught. Li Mosin had heard a lot about Tang Menjing since he was a child. Qin Shu Huan knew a lot of mahjong partners. When they were not playing mahjong, they would talk on the side. Not only did he know, but even Daesu and Ursu knew. Li Jianqian once told him, no matter how your mother treats you, in the future, our mother will be your mother, our father will be your father, and Mosin will always be our brother. At that time, Mosin was moved to tears, and his resentment and hatred for Tang Menjing were even more fermented in his heart. Hearing that, Tang Menjing smiled even more happily and said, it seems that Su Chinsi has taught you well. You are quite smart, but silly child, you have been misled. I am, Brother Mosin. A childish voice came from afar. Li Jianyue was wearing a white dreamy princess dress with two small braids on her head. She ran over with her short legs. But when she saw Tang Menjing, she slowly stopped and opened her big round eyes. Feeling a little strange, she shouted, Brother Mosin, Grandpa is asking you to come in. Mosin was held by Tang Menjing. With tears on his face, he shouted at Li Jianyue and said, Ursu, go find Grandpa and Great-Grandpa to save me. When Li Jianyue heard this, she felt that something had happened. He turned around and ran. Tang Menjing was shocked. She picked Li Mosin up with one hand and ran in the direction of Li Jianyue. The old house was a few hundred meters away from the pond, which was a road away. The little guy's legs were short and the distance was short. Tang Menjing soon caught up with her. Li Jianyue flailed her hands and feet and shouted, Help! Help! Brother! Grandpa! Great-Grandpa! Oh! Chapter 763. This little girl had inherited Su Chinsi's voice. Her voice was sharp and thin, which was really disgusting. From afar, a taxi drove over. Su Chinsi looked out of the window in boredom and saw her daughter running home with her short legs. Curling her lips, Su Chinsi shouted, Stop the car. My daughter is down there. However, then Su Chinsi's expression changed. A figure covered from head to toe, holding a child in her hand, rushed toward Li Jianyue. Help, help, Su Qianxi's expression changed drastically. She opened the door and rushed out. Seeing the car behind her, Tang Menjing pulled the little girl in her arms into the car and threw her into the water. Li Mosen was shocked and screamed, "Ursu!" Plop! The sound of falling into the water was like the cork in her heart being pulled out. Su Qianxi exclaimed, "Ursu!" Li Jianyue fell into the middle of the pond and choked on the water. Her hands and feet struggled and shouted, "Ah!" However, before she could even shout a complete word, her little body had already sunk. The water here was very, very deep. It was so deep that even Su Qianxi, an adult woman, could not stand in the water and drowned. Almost instinctively, Su Qianxi did not hesitate to throw away all the things in her hands and jumped into the water. Seeing this, Tang Menjing laughed and said, "Go to hell, all go to hell." The taxi driver looked at this side incredulously. At the moment when Tang Menjing looked over, he slammed on the brakes and left this place. Hiding in the distance, he picked up the phone and dialed 110. Su Qianxi's body jumped in the water. Looking at her daughter, she reached out and grabbed her. Her body struggled to swim, and soon her daughter was lifted to the shore. Li Jianyue went ashore and coughed a few times. Then she was scared and burst into tears, holding Su Qianxi's neck with her short hands. "Mommy!" The little guy was really scared. His whole body was drenched in sweat. The originally beautiful puffy skirt was all stuck to her body. Su Qianxi patted her back and ears distressed. After checking that the little girl was safe and sound, she breathed a sigh of relief. The sun was a little big today, and there was no wind. Fortunately, Su Qianxi was a little far from where Tang Menjing was. After comforting Li Jianyue, Su Qianxi looked in the direction of Tang Menjing with some fear. Tang Menjing held Li Mosen with one hand, a pair of eyes faintly looking over here, and sneered, "You can actually swim?" Su Qianxi was shocked. Holding her daughter, she whispered, "Go home first, call Grandpa out, and run away. Do you hear me?" The little girl heard her mother's words, but her mind did not quite understand what her mother meant. Li Jianyue, "Mom, go home, and call Grandpa and Uncle." Qianxi's mom. Tang Menjing was already walking over. Su Qianxi was alarmed. Pushing her daughter, she yelled, "Run!" Li Jianyue cried as she ran in the direction of her home. Her hair and dress were still dripping with water. The little girl, Chiu Li to little girl. Li 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 Chiu Li. Chapter 764. Tang Menjing was caught off guard. Her eyes widened, she punched Su Qianxi's back hard. Su Qianxi gritted her teeth and almost put all her weight on Tang Menjing, pushing Tang Menjing to the ground. Tang Menjing's expression changed dramatically. She took out a spring dagger from her pocket and pressed it down. The blade popped out and cut Su Qianxi's arm. Su Qianxi exclaimed and subconsciously took her hand back. Tang Menjing took the opportunity and stabbed the dagger into her shoulder blade. Su Qianxi's eyes widened and subconsciously reached out to grab it. Her palm was cut by the dagger. Gritting her teeth, Su Qianxi twisted her hand. In a flash, the blade was stabbed in the direction of Li Mosen. Su Qianxi's face turned pale and she held Tang Menjing's hand tightly. Li Mosen was not stupid. He struggled crazily and bit Tang Menjing's exposed arm. Tang Menjing was in pain, but she grinned and leaned back. She lifted her foot and kicked Su Qianxi hard. Then she turned over and pinned Su Qianxi down with one leg. However, Li Mosen, who was in her arms, was being hugged tighter and tighter. His little face turned red, and he panted hard. He shouted uncomfortably, "Mom, go." Tang Menjing heard the word "Mom" and was shocked. In a flash, tears gathered in her eyes and were about to fall. Mom, the child she gave birth to was calling the person she hated the most, Mom. Why? This woman even dared to take her son away from her. Bitch. Tang Menjing's tears fell and she kicked Su Qianxi hard. Just behind Su Qianxi was a slope. Su Qianxi was kicked and rolled to the edge of the lake. Why? Why? Tang Menjing put the dagger against Li Mosen's neck. You have taken everything from me. Su Qianxi, you bitch. Why? Why do you have all this? What right do you have? Tang Menjing shouted hysterically, why can you destroy everything I have? My man, my family, and now you even want to take my child away from me. Why? As she screamed, Tang Menjing took off her mask and hat, revealing her hideous face. Su Qianxi was shocked and covered her mouth in disbelief. Tang Menjing's face and the big fire scar on the right side of her face were exactly what she had in her previous life. It was a complete replica of her scarred face from her previous life. However, there was no hideous X on her face. That X was still losing juice, making anyone who looked at it feel nauseous. Su Qianxi looked at Tang Menjing's face incredulously. Su Qianxi, how can you do this? Do you know how many things you have stolen from me? Tang Menjing's smile was a bit morbid. Combined with this face, Su Qianxi actually felt creepy in broad daylight. Suddenly, there was the sound of a police car. Su Qianxi looked over, and Tang Menjing also looked over, chuckling. You're here. You're really capable. Tang Menjing pointed the dagger at the little guy's neck. Tell me, I have already killed 8 people. If I kill another child, will I be sentenced to death by 1,000 cuts? The police cars on both sides of the road flanked them. Soon, 2 long rows of police cars came down. Chapter 765. Who are you calling mom? I am your mom. Tang Menjing suddenly hugged him and shook him hard, almost crazy, shouting, call me mom, call me mom. Suddenly there was the sound of a gun being loaded. Tang Menjing suddenly looked up and yelled, don't come over. If you come over, I will kill him. With that, she pushed the dagger forward, and the dagger pierced into Mosen's neck. Bright red blood quickly flowed out. Li Mosen sobbed, but he was so scared that he didn't dare to move. Tang Menjing, Tang Qing. A police officer shouted, don't be so stubborn. You have killed so many people. Don't you even let go of a child? Tang Menjing heard that and sneered disdainfully. Child. This is my son. I can kill him if I want. It's none of your business. Su Qianxi cautiously approached and said in a trembling voice, Tang Menjing, he is your son. Have you forgotten? You also wrote a mother's diary for him. You love him, don't you? Su Qianxi, how can you be so naive? If he is Li Xiqing's child, of course I love him, but who is the father of this little b*tch? Tang Menjing laughed and pushed the dagger deeper and deeper. I didn't want this little b*starred. I wanted to kill him the moment he was born. It was you. Why did you save him? Why did you meddle in my business? Did she really think that she was the Virgin Mary or Queen Mother of the West? Are you shameless? Didn't you do this just to make me look better? To show how perverted and vicious I am? Now, it has come true, hasn't it? Everything is going according to what you want. Are you happy? Su Qianxi looked at her and suddenly felt a little unreasonable, but at the same time, she also felt very complicated. Once upon a time, she had questioned Tang Menjing like this. At that time, Tang Menjing was glorious. As Mrs. Li in the eyes of outsiders, she enjoyed everything she should have, while Su Qianxi was like a stray dog, living in this home with her tail between her legs. One day, she finally couldn't stand it anymore. She asked her out and had a big fight, questioning her. Every word was filled with hatred that had been suppressed in her heart for a long time. However, at that time, Tang Menjing was silent for every question and sentence. Then, she looked behind her. When she turned around, she found that he had been standing behind her the whole time. He could hear every word clearly. At that time, she felt as if she had fallen into an ice house. Tang Menjing was still famous, but she did not dare to show up in front of Li Xiqing anymore. Unexpectedly, the tables had turned. After being reborn, he saw all the tragedies that should have been his in his previous life. Was he rejoicing or sorrowful? Tang Menjing looked at Su Qianxi and sneered. Suddenly, there was a gunshot. Tang Menjing's body suddenly stiffened and she loosened her grip. Li Mosen fell to the ground and screamed, but then he quickly got up from the ground and ran in the direction of Su Qianxi, shouting, "Mom!" Li Mosen held Su Qianxi's legs and found that she was still looking at Tang Menjing. Chapter 766. Everyone's gaze was focused on the place where the gunshot had just sounded. In that place, an old man over 70 years old was standing in a standard military posture, holding an air gun in his hand. He was tall and straight like a pine tree. He had short white hair and a straight back, like a pine tree that had stood for 100 years, vigorous and straight. At this moment, he was holding the air gun with both hands, looking straight ahead. His eyes were full of indifference and decisiveness. Seeing Captain Li, the crowd cheered. No one expected that the person who fired the gun was this man. Tang Menjing's chest was bleeding, but at this moment, she did not have time to look at Captain Li. Instead, she turned her head to the side and looked at Su Qianxi. Just in front of Su Qianxi, there was a cute little guy with a pair of beautiful blue eyes on his pink cheeks. At this moment, this pair of eyes, like the blue sea, was filled with deep hatred. Such hatred was like a long thorny whip, ruthlessly whipping the softest part of Tang Menjing's heart. That shot shattered the armor that she had worked so hard to build over the years and the lies that she had deceived herself over the years. Seeing the clear hatred on the little face, Tang Menjing's vision became more and more blurred, and her mind became more and more muddled. However, the images that had been flashing in her mind for the past 4 years became clearer and clearer. "Baby, this is the 14th week since God sent you to me. Although your father is not willing to admit your existence, I love you and look forward to your arrival. Love your mother. Baby, today I was suspected by everyone again. Everyone thinks that you are not your father's child, but only I know that you are the child of the Li family, the flesh and blood of the Li family. Sooner or later, I will take you back to the Li family and become a legitimate child of the Li family. Love your mother. Baby, today I took a lie detector test. Sorry, the expert said that there may be radiation to the fetus, but I still did it without hesitation. I want your father to recognize me and you, and drive the bad woman away. Love your mother." Once upon a time, she had also looked forward to and desired this child. This child was the only hope that she relied on to survive in the most desperate time. Once upon a time, she had also been happy, and proud. That proud peacock that was once envied by everyone had now been stripped of all its feathers. It was bare and embarrassed in front of everyone's eyes. Therefore, she was resentful, she hated, she was hysterical. At that time, he had just turned 1 month old. She lifted him high above her head and smashed him onto the ground. Seeing him crying so hard that his whole body was blue and purple, she laughed like a madwoman. "Bastard! Bastard! Where did this bastard come from? Ha ha ha, how can this kind of thing live in this world?" That's right, how could such a thing live in this world? Tang Menjing's eyes were blurred, and a bright smile appeared on her face. Suddenly, a tall figure broke into Tang Menjing's blurred vision. She tried to look at him, but all she could see was a pair of eyes that she once thought were the most beautiful in the world. It was cold, apathetic, and cold. She had rushed over from afar and lived her lowly life. His thin body fell heavily onto the ground. Blood dyed the grass red. A breeze passed by, bringing with it a little fishy smell, but it soon disappeared. Chapter 767. Tang Menjing's death ignited public opinion. For a time, the whole country was discussing Tang Menjing's fate. In just 2 months, she killed 8 people. 3 of them were in remote villages without surveillance, 2 were in small towns with inconvenient transportation, and 3 were from Kingstown. Because the crime was serious and the situation was critical, Captain Li shot the culprit, and the police did not pursue his legal responsibility. However, Tang Menjing's tragic death also made Mrs. Tang, who was far away in the Kingstown AIDS Isolation Center, unable to accept it on the spot. In addition, after a long period of depression, she jumped into the bathtub and committed suicide. Tang Menjing became a complete orphan in debt. When the police investigated, they found that she had disappeared more than a year ago. There was no trace of her in the whole country, as if she had disappeared into thin air. The tragedy of the Tang family was on various legal news, and even Weibo was a hot topic for several days. The National Day holiday was not over, and Rong Anna and Bo Xiao did not wait for the so-called partner, but they had almost squandered all their money. When Bo Xiao went out to the bar, Rong Anna took out the bank card that Rong Rui gave her and quietly walked to a nearby ATM. Qing Yu was holding the baby and feeding, and Rong Rui was eating slowly. The TV was broadcasting the Tang family's morbid tragedy. While watching, she did not forget to look at Rong Rui and asked, "Do you have any thoughts about this situation?" Rong Rui took a sip of the soup and saw her suspicious and uncertain eyes. He frowned and put down the bowl. "It's a little weak, but fortunately, it has been boiled for a long time. I can still drink it. Pay attention next time." Qing Yu rolled her eyes. "Who asked you about the soup? I mean, do you have any thoughts about the Tang family now?" Rong Rui picked up a piece of chestnut with his chopsticks. Without looking up, he said, "What thoughts can I have? They deserve to die. What about Tang Menjing? She killed 8 people and almost killed her own child. What's the point of living for such a person?" Rong Rui put down his chopsticks and looked at her as he chewed. "No matter what her reasons are, even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. This woman has stabbed Mosin in the neck. If it weren't for old Master Li, do you think this little guy would still be alive?" The answer was yes. She looked at him suspiciously, raised her eyebrows and asked, "Do you really think so? What else?" Rong Rui was a little helpless. "Don't mess around. I was blind to fall for that kind of woman. When I decided to be with you, I cut off all ties with her. Was it that year, in the hospital?" She looked down, holding the baby and feeding. Thinking of the scene in the hospital that night, she still felt a little uncomfortable. "I told you, I will take responsibility. You don't have to worry. I didn't feel anything for you at that time. I forgot." Rong Rui got himself another bowl of soup. Hearing this, he raised his eyebrows and nodded. "I see. Why do I remember that you were quite angry when you were in the hospital? You even kicked me. It was so painful." She stared, grabbed the small toy around her, and threw it at him. Rong Rui took it, smiled, and was about to say something when the phone in his hand suddenly vibrated. It was a text message. "Kingstown Bank, you have withdrawn 20,000 yuan from the ATM, the balance is..." An obscure look flashed across his amber eyes. Chapter 768. He finished the soup in the bowl and then got up. "I'm going out." "Where are you going?" "I have something to do. I'll be back in a minute." He walked past Qing Yu, lifted her chin, and kissed her on the cheek. She looked disgusted, wiped her face, and said, did you wipe your mouth? It's disgusting. He chuckled, waved his hand, picked up the car key, and walked out. Driving all the way to the local police station, he parked the car, hesitated, and stepped in. When Rong Anna returned to the inn, Bo Xiao had not returned yet. She breathed a sigh of relief and subconsciously reached out to touch her flat belly. After taking a shower, when she came out again, Bo Xiao was already sitting on the stool at the head of the bed. Holding the money in his hand, he looked at Rong Anna. Rong Anna wiped her hair, and her heart skipped a beat. She quickly looked away and asked, "Did you meet Brother Hu?" Bo Xiao did not answer this question directly, but held the money in his hand. With a pair of sharp eyes, he asked, "Anna, where did this money come from?" Rong Anna's eyes flickered, and she said, "My brother gave me the card." Bo Xiao was amused by her and said, "Oh, my Anna, do you know what you are doing? Do you think your cousin can be trusted? Didn't we agree to take the money when we are going to leave? When the time comes, we can frame Brother Hu, and then we can retreat and go far away. Why are you so disobedient?" Rong Anna couldn't help but tear up. Wiping her hair, she whispered, "My cousin is not someone else. Although he is a little useless, he is really a good person. He will not betray me." "My silly Anna, you are not his cousin, don't you know?" With that, Bo Xiao's voice also slowed down, and he whispered, "We are now carrying people's lives, stolen goods, and our hands are stained with blood. Why do you think that he will not betray us? No matter what, there should be no problem in the middle of the night. Let's go first. When Brother Hu arrives tomorrow, we will get the money and leave." Rong Anna nodded, watching him pack up, and her heart was in a mess. Just when Bo Xiao put all the suitcases up, Rong Anna stepped forward and hugged him from behind. Bo Xiao froze for a moment before turning around to look at Zhang Xian. Rong Anna hugged him, and her hands tightened. Bo Xiao looked down at her and reached out to hold her hands. He asked in a low voice, "What's wrong?" "Xiao," Rong Anna's eyes were a little red. "Why did we become like this? We were supposed to be happy for the rest of our lives under the blessings of our parents and the watchful eyes of our friends. Why did we become like this? An endless escape, a dark future. Xiao, I really don't want it to be like this." Bo Xiao put his palm on the back of Rong Anna's hand, sighed softly, and whispered, "I don't want to be like this. Who wants to live a good life? But have you ever thought that if we didn't do this, the Bo group would have gone bankrupt a long time ago? Your parents wouldn't have agreed to our engagement, and my parents wouldn't have been able to survive in the capital. We don't want this to happen, but we have to live, don't we?" Rong Anna hugged Bo Xiao tightly and did not speak, crying silently behind him. Bo Xiao also fell silent. He stood where he was, feeling complicated. Chapter 769. "Xiao, I'm pregnant." Her soft voice was choked with sobs. Bo Xiao's body stiffened, and then there was an overwhelming surprise. Turning around, Bo Xiao's face was full of surprise. He clasped Rong Anna's shoulders with his hands, and his face was full of uncontrollable joy. "Really? Anna, am I going to be a father?" Rong Anna looked at him, chuckled, and nodded. Bo Xiao laughed happily and held Rong Anna in his arms. "Great! My Anna, my child, God, Anna, I'm so happy." He bowed his head, held her face, and kissed her hard. "Anna, I feel so happy. I'm going to be a father, we're going to be parents." Rong Anna saw Bo Xiao's appearance, and the smile on her face widened, but in a moment, her tears rolled down again. She said, "Xiao, let's turn ourselves in, okay? Let's give birth to the child, and then." "Are you crazy, Anna?" Bo Xiao looked at her incredulously. "Turn ourselves in? We're going to jail, and maybe even the death penalty." Rong Anna looked at Bo Xiao and didn't know what to say for a while. Bo Xiao grabbed her shoulders with both hands and looked serious. Anna will be sentenced to death. You're pregnant, and the Supreme Court will sentence you to life imprisonment. Why don't we try? Why do we have to live like this? Shoo, Anna, listen to me. Bo Xiao looked at her with a pair of eyes, and Rong Anna couldn't understand the complex emotions in them. He grabbed her shoulders and whispered, we have to live, and live proudly. If we can't live in China, then we'll go abroad, Myanmar, Brunei, and even Vietnam. We can go there. Be obedient, okay? Rong Anna's mouth twitched, and she cried out, now that we're like this, what pride is there to speak of? Yes. Bo Xiao looked at her and said slowly, with you, I have pride. With you, I can live. Let's live together, and be proud together, okay? Take our children, take our flesh and blood, and live proudly together, okay? Rong Anna looked at him, and the sadness in her heart overflowed. However, seeing his almost pleading face, she finally nodded and lowered her eyes. Okay. There was only one day left before the National Day holiday. Tomorrow was the day to go to work. Yu Lily helped Sister Qin at the flower shop until 9 o'clock in the evening. However, just as she was about to take the bus home, someone stopped her. Little Yu. It was a familiar voice. Yu Lily turned her head and saw Mr. Li sitting in the car, looking at her with a bright smile, waving to her and saying, come here. Manager Li's car was parked not far away. It was a new BMW. It looked brand new and very beautiful. Yu Lily was so tired that her body was sore. When she saw Mr. Li, she walked over with her bag. As soon as she got closer, she smelled alcohol. Yu Lily smiled and said, Mr. Li, what a coincidence. Yeah. I just finished drinking with a client and happened to pass by here, so I came to take a look. I didn't expect you to still be here. Let's go. I'll send you back. Manager Li pointed to the front passenger seat and said enthusiastically. Yu Lily felt that it was a little strange. She said awkwardly, it's not good for you to drive after drinking, right? Chapter 770. Well, that's not a good idea. How about I call a designated driver for Mr. Li? There is a 5-star hotel next to here, and there should be a lot of designated drivers. Yu Lily looked at the 5-star hotel next to her. That's boring. It's normal not to drive after drinking, but I can drive. I let you drive because I trust you. Aren't you looking down on me by asking me to find a designated driver? Mr. Li's face darkened. Yu Lily felt a little embarrassed and said, Mr. Li, you're too serious. I'm just kind enough to call a designated driver for you. If you don't think it's appropriate, then don't call one. Hearing that, Mr. Li's face softened a little. He unfastened his seatbelt, opened the door, and said, come on, try it. If I'm found drunk driving, it will be very troublesome. Generally, they won't check the driver's license. A girl driving is safer than a drunk driving. Come on. As he said that, he had already sat in the passenger seat. Yu Lily was a little distressed and scratched her head. It doesn't feel right to drive in the middle of the night. Let's not talk about whether I have a driver's license. Even if I have a driver's license, should I drive my boss's car home in the middle of the night? Hurry up, you. You are usually very straightforward. Why are you so slow now? Yu Lily hesitated for a moment, then opened the door and sat in. After a busy day, Yu Lily's legs hurt from standing. As soon as she sat down, she felt very comfortable. She started the car and slowly drove out. She asked, where is your home? I'll take you back first. Why are you going to my house? I already said that I'll send you back. Aren't you complaining that I'm drunk? You're afraid that it's dangerous for me to drive drunk, so I'll let you drive. Director Lee yawned and lay back on the chair. When you go back, I'll go back by myself. That's not very convenient. If you're found drunk driving, your driver's license will be revoked. Don't worry so much. Go back first. Mr. Lee was a little impatient. Lily didn't say much. She closed her mouth and soon drove to the community where she lived. However, when he was almost there, he heard a moan from the person next to him. Then, Mr. Lee stretched out a hand and touched the bottom of Lily. Lily was shocked. She slammed on the brakes and shouted, "What are you doing?" Mr. Lee seemed to be frightened and said, "I'm taking something. My bag is below." Lily stared at him and asked, "Where?" "Down there, under your feet." She breathed a sigh of relief and bent down to touch it. However, before he could touch it, he felt a big fat hand grabbing his shoulder. Lily shivered, and her hair stood on end. She turned her head angrily and said, "Mr. Lee, I'm taking it." Mr. Lee didn't have the same expression as before. Instead, he looked at her with a strange expression and said, "There's no hurry. Take your time. But I think it's too late today. Shall we go to your place for tea?" "I don't have tea at home. I'm almost there. I'll get off here." "Mr. Lee, you should go back early. Good night." Lily resisted and pushed his hand away. She used the other hand to open the door of the driver's seat. But she was stopped by Mr. Lee's fat hand. "Don't pretend. You're in my car. Isn't it because you want to follow me?" Dash. Chapter 771. Lily reflexively pushed him back and shouted, "Please show some respect." At the same time, Lily had opened the door and got out of the car in horror. However, Mr. Lee's hand pulled her in again. His fat hand unscrupulously approached her, and the other hand closed the door. Then, he fell toward her. Lily screamed, pushed him with both hands, and shouted angrily, "Bastard, get out of here. Is this how you talk to your boss?" Although Mr. Lee said so, his voice was full of excitement. "Why are you pretending to be a chaste woman? She was still a kept whore. I have promoted you, and you still pretend. Is it not enough? I will give you a raise." While talking, his mouth smelled of alcohol. Lily's stomach rolled, and she felt nauseous for no reason. Almost at the same time, she recalled that unrestrained and evil face in her mind. His beautiful peach eyes seemed to be looking at her with a smile. "Get out! Get out!" Lily's eyes immediately turned red, and she used all her strength to push him away. At the same time, her legs also kicked hard. Suddenly, the front of the car made a loud noise. Bang! Lily and Mr. Lee leaned forward at the same time. Because he did not fasten his seatbelt, Mr. Lee's body was thrown to the back. At the same time, the sound of broken glass mixed with the sound of the car alarm sounded. The sharp broken glass sprayed from the front, and Lily's eyes were wide open in horror. The glass fragments sprayed on Mr. Lee's body. Bright red blood flowed from his forehead to his closed eyes, and he was motionless. Mr. Lee, dead. Lily's mind was blank, and she was surrounded by the sound of horns, sirens, and inquiries. Everything was like a dream. When she opened her eyes again, Lily was lying in the hospital. There were police, doctors, and nurses next to her. Seeing Lily wake up, the doctor checked and confirmed that she was fine, and the police immediately came to ask. "Miss Lily, right?" Lily was inexplicably panicked, and her heart was beating fast. She nodded. The police looked at her, looked down at a book, and asked, "Who else is in the family?" "No, I am an orphan." "What grudge do you have with Lida?" In this car accident, Lida's wife wants to sue you for attempted murder. What was the situation like at the time? Please explain. Intentional murder. Lily stared at him with her eyes wide open. After making sure that he was not joking, she suddenly felt that it was ridiculous. It was him who wanted to molest me. He pretended to send me home and lied to me that I couldn't drink and drive. After that, he tried to molest me in the car. I stepped on the accelerator in desperation, and the car suddenly rushed out. But you don't have a license. You're driving without a license. Do you know that? He wants me to open it. If I don't, he'll say that I'm not giving him face. Lily looked at the policeman and said, I just got promoted, and I haven't officially started working yet. Why would I deliberately murder him? The policeman glanced at her and then lowered his head to record, I heard that you are not on good terms with Lida's aunt. Yes. Lily's eyes lit up. Su Jing, Lida fired her and replaced me. It must be because of this that his wife wronged me. After all, they are cousins. Chapter 772. Lily's voice paused, but she quickly sorted out her thoughts and told the truth. The policeman nodded and said, Okay, I got it. We will thoroughly investigate this matter, but because the accident was caused by you, Lida's wife asks you to compensate for the maintenance cost of the 2 cars, as well as Lida's medical expenses and mental damage. After Lida wakes up, we will check the situation. What? Lily was stunned. She wants me to compensate. Of course, the accident was caused by you. The other car was parked there, but you hit it. The maintenance cost of the 2 cars and the medical expenses will add up to at least 300,000 or 400,000 yuan. You should be prepared. But I did it in self-defense. Lily's face was pale. 300,000 or 400,000 yuan. Where can I find so much money? Now, I am so poor that I can't even afford to eat. How can I have so much money? This situation needs to be checked, and we will discuss it when Lida wakes up. You are fine, just fainted. Lida's left hand is fractured and he has a concussion. If he wakes up, thank God. If they don't pursue it, you can just pay some money. If he doesn't wake up, I am afraid you will go to jail. The policeman closed the book. Think about what to do. The loss must be compensated. I will go to Lida's place. Lily's whole body seemed to be drained of strength. She sat on the bed with a pale face. An aunt in the ward looked at her sympathetically and said, Girl, are you okay? Lily looked up, her eyes were hot, and she was flustered. 300,000 or 400,000 yuan, if I can't get it, will I go to jail? Lifting the quilt, Lily got out of bed and walked out quickly. After asking around, she found Mr. Li's ward and went out. Mr. Li lived in a high-end single ward, and the price of this ward alone was not what Lily could afford. With a pale face, Lily knocked on the door and went in. Lida had woken up. When he saw her come in, he looked angry. Lida's wife turned her head and looked at her. She strode forward and slapped Lily's face without saying anything. Lily's pupils shrank. She stepped back and blocked it with her backhand. Mrs. Li slapped the back of her hand with a sharp, clear sound. The policeman was making a statement. Seeing this scene, he quickly came forward and stood between them. Be quiet, the policeman is still here. Mrs. Li snorted coldly and sneered, I beat up a vixen who seduced my husband, and the police can't do anything about it. This kind of little hussy has the face of a vixen, and I heard that she was a mistress. Mr. Police, don't you want to check if she has done any abnormal transactions? Lily was very angry, but at this time, she became calmer and sneered, I was wondering why Mr. Li likes to flirt with little girls in the company. It turns out that Mrs. Li is like this. Yes, no man wants to face a woman who looks older than himself. If you didn't call Lita your husband, would really think that you are his nanny or sister or something like that. Mrs. Lee's face turned darker and darker. She shouted, "Hey!" Chapter 773. Mrs. Lee's face was red with anger. She rushed forward with great strength, stretched out her hand and shouted, "Little bitch." But before she could get close to see the goods, she was stopped by the policeman. The policeman looked distressed and shouted angrily, "Can you be quiet?" Eulalie smiled more brightly, raised her eyebrows and said, "What? Can't accept the fact. Your family must be very rich, otherwise, which man can stand this kind of appearance? It will be ugly if he urinates in the middle of the night." "Shut up, bitch." Mrs. Lee was furious and was about to rush toward her. The police became impatient and roared, "Enough. If you continue like this, all of you will go back to the police station with me." Lito was lying in the hospital bed, and his face was not very good. At the same time, when he saw Eulilie's fierce appearance, he couldn't help but start to feel hot in his heart. If he could get such a woman in bed, wouldn't it be great? Thinking of this, Lida's eyes had become a little more hot, and he said, "You, don't be so fierce, the policeman is still here." Hearing that, Eulalie looked at Mr. Lee on the bed and said coldly, "Mr. Lee, I have always respected you. I thought this promotion was because you valued my work ability. I didn't expect you to have such an idea. If you want to do something in the future, it will be better to say it directly. Why do you have to beat around the bush?" "I'm sorry, I quit." Mr. Lee looked at Eulalie. Hearing such disrespectful words, Lida's face was also hot. In the face of his wife's questioning and threatening eyes, Lida's face sank and said, You have to speak with conscience. How I usually treat you, everyone in the company can see. I promoted you because of your ability. Is there any other reason? As for you, what hatred do I have with you that you have to hit me like this? But for the sake of our acquaintance, I will not sue you. Let's settle it privately. The policeman should have told you, just pay a little money and let it go." Then, he thought of something and said, "I have informed the personnel department to fire you. In the future, you are no longer my employee, and the position of supervisor is completely out of your reach. If you leave my company, you see who can put you in an important position." Ha! Eulalie felt a little funny. "Mr. Lee, are you still pretending? There is a camera at the entrance of our community. The police can check the surveillance and find out what happened. I was acting in self-defense. You forced me to drive the car. You reap what you sow, and I have no reason to compensate you. Besides, the capital is so big, and your company is not necessarily good. I have long wanted to leave your small temple. I was the one who asked to resign first, have you forgotten?" Lida's face became uglier and he said, "No matter what, you are no longer my employee, but it is a fact that you have caused this series of losses. If you don't compensate, I can only let the law punish you. Shall you? It's not easy for everyone. Presumably you don't want to go to jail, right?" Eulalie's eyes flashed. She looked at the policeman and asked in a deep voice, "Mr. Policeman, he molested me first. Please check the surveillance footage and you will see it." Chapter 774. Eulalie took one last look at Lida and turned to follow the police out of the ward. When she arrived at the police station and checked the surveillance, she found that a large truck was parked in front of the surveillance camera, and only the roof of Lida's car could be seen. Surveillance blind spot. There was not a single piece of evidence that could prove her innocence. Eulalie felt like falling into an ice cellar. Looking at the picture, her eyes became redder and redder. Looking at the police opposite, she suddenly stood up and asked, "What about other surveillance cameras? It's impossible to have only one surveillance camera at the entrance of such a large community, right? Another angle of surveillance, just in the lower right corner. didn't you see it? Another angle was the rear of the car. Lily's face became paler and paler. Sitting in the chair, she felt cold all over. Master O, there seems to be news from the capital about Miss Yu. O Ming was busy dealing with documents. Hearing this, he paused and didn't look up. Say it. The assistant deliberated over his choice of words before telling the whole story in full detail. After that, he felt a little sorry and asked, do you want to help her? Are you familiar with her? O Ming didn't look up, threw the signed documents aside, and squinted at him. If you are familiar with her, then you can help her. I don't care. The assistant immediately shut up, bowed his head and said nothing. Not familiar. Anyway, she used to be a woman. Master O is too cruel. However, since Master O said so, he had no reason to be nosy. Taking the signed documents, the assistant looked at O Ming and said, then, I'll go out first. O Ming still looked at the documents on the desk and waved his hand. After the assistant went out, O Ming looked up from the pile of documents. His dark brown pupils were obscure. In his shimmering peach blossom eyes, there seemed to be a title page that had been sealed for a long time being opened. Is Lily at her wit's end? His eyes fell on the mobile phone on the desk, and his eyes became darker. I haven't changed my number. She should, remember it, right? Lily didn't know how she got home. Lying on the bed, her mind was blank. She looked at the wall in front of the bed, which was filled with photos. O Ming was sitting, standing, smiling, cold, hugging her, kissing her. Every scene was so beautiful that she had been looking forward to it for 4 years. But she didn't dare to turn around and look for him again. No one knew better than her what kind of person O Ming was. He would never let her go. Scram. Be smart and don't appear in Kingstown in the future. Otherwise, I will find someone to kill you. B*TCH. Lily's throat choked. She opened her mouth to take a breath, but her tears fell. It was said that when a person was in the most desperate situation, the first person they would think of was the person they relied on the most. This sentence was indeed true. However, this kind of dependence could no longer go back. Even Lily didn't know when she fell asleep. When she woke up, it was already past 10 o'clock the next morning. Looking at the time displayed on the phone, Lily suddenly stood up. Her first reaction was, I'm late. However, he only reacted after a long while. She seemed to be unemployed now. With a deep sense of powerlessness in her heart, Lily got up and washed, changed her clothes, and went out to look for a job. With a debt, she was now short of money, short of money, short of money, short of money. Chapter 775. With her resume, Lily almost went to all the job markets in the capital. However, it was either not suitable or the salary was low. The highest salary was less than 5,000 yuan a month. In a city like the capital, there was little money left except for food and accommodation. So, at the end of the day, she got nothing. Lily felt extremely embarrassed. Even when she just came to the capital for a year and was cheated of more than 1 million yuan by her roommate, she was not as sad as she was at this moment. Poor and frustrated. When she first moved out of the orphanage, the director said that she had a low life and bad luck. At that time, she just laughed it off. Who knew that today, she fell into such a situation? At about 5 o'clock in the evening, she bought instant noodles in the convenience store near the talent market and sat under the sun umbrella next to the convenience store. This was her third instant noodles today. Lily looked down at her mobile phone, looking at the phone number she had just saved in the market and the text messages she had received. Suddenly, the sound of high heels was getting closer and closer. Yu Lily looked up and saw a beautiful woman with delicate makeup on her face, looking at her with her arms crossed. She was wearing a beautiful, bright, rose-red skirt and a white jacket. She was carrying this year's latest Chanel handbag. The watch and accessories on her hand all showed the owner's taste and wealth. Seeing this woman, Yu Lily felt a little familiar and frowned. How you? Hearing this name, Yu Lily finally remembered and was a little surprised. It turns out to be you, Sister How. How you, the woman who took her to the entertainment club and took her to sell. At that time, she was young and ignorant. Because of the lack of money, she followed How you to travel. After arriving there, she found that kind of place. And the role she played at that time was a prostitute. At that time, she tried her best to reduce her sense of existence and desperately wanted to escape. For this reason, How you also helped her take a slap. Later, Yu Lily saw that How you was beaten because of her and felt extremely guilty. In the end, she went out honestly. It was also at that time that she met Oh Ming. At the age of 17, she was kept by Oh Ming, and since then, she was like a canary. Since then, Yu Lily had never seen How you again. Who knew that she would see her in the capital? When he saw How you, he inexplicably felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had met an old friend in a foreign land. For more than 4 years, she had never met anyone she used to know. Except for Oh Ming, there was no one else. Instant noodles. How you sat down next to her and glanced at it. She found that there was less than half of the soup left in the instant noodles. Putting down the bag in her hand, How you took out a yogurt and asked, "Are you full? How about I treat you to a feast?" Ha! Yu Lily blushed and felt a little embarrassed. It just so happens that I haven't eaten either. Let's eat together. There's a Cantonese restaurant nearby. It's pretty good. Okay, thank you, Sister How. After running for a whole day, a bowl of instant noodles was not enough to satisfy his hunger. After the meal, Yu Lily realized that she was starving. Yu Lily had been gorging herself, but How you hadn't moved much. Chapter 776. You're welcome, but I remember that you were with Oh Ming, right? Even if he dumped you, you shouldn't be so miserable, right? When Yu Lily heard that, she felt even more embarrassed. She asked, "Do I look so miserable?" "Well, very miserable." How you looked at her and pinched the clothes she bought in the small store. She shook her head and said, "Look at what you are wearing. Where are the famous brands you used to wear?" Yu Lily took a sip of tea and chuckled. Then, she casually recounted what had happened. From 4 years ago, to being cheated of money, to 4 years later. How you saw her forced smile and did not expose her. She nodded and said, "That is to say, you are now being cheated by that beast. If you don't pay, he will sue you." "Yes." Yu Lily poured herself a cup of tea and took a sip. "He gave me 5 days. If I can't come up with the money within 5 days, he will call the police to arrest me." As she said, her eyes turned red. "He is sure that I don't have the money to hire a lawyer to fight a lawsuit, and now there is no evidence in favor of me. How much does it cost?" "I don't know." Yu Lily's eyes were red, but when she saw How Yu's sympathetic look, she immediately laughed. "It may be 380,000, it may be more than 400,000. Anyway, the repair cost of the 2 cars has been more than 300,000. Plus the medical expenses. I am afraid it will be more than 400,000. How much money do you have now?" How you asked. Yu Lily lowered her head and felt sad. "More than 700. I saved it by doing part-time jobs during the National Day holiday." "Do you have a place to live now?" "Yes, I just paid a quarter's rent a few days ago." "Or, you can work for me." Now you can't get so much money in a short time. There is a vacancy in the place where I work, and the salary is quite high. Do you want to try? How Yu looked at Yu Lily and asked. Yu Lily was stunned, then shook her head without hesitation. I don't do that. How Yu looked at her and suddenly laughed. You have been with Oh Ming for so long. Didn't he cheat on you? Yu Lily pursed her lips and did not speak. If you want to make money quickly, this is the only way. The place where I work is a high-end place. If you go to an ordinary place, you won't earn as much as me. How Yu looked at her, her long false eyelashes fluttering. She picked up the powder to touch up her makeup and said calmly, and with your small face and figure, you are much more valuable than mine. Maybe you can earn all the money in 2 days. After 2 days, it will be easier. 2 days to earn all the money. It was indeed fast. If she could raise the money within 5 days, she would not have to worry or go to jail. She was still so young, 25 years old, a woman's most beautiful age. With a debt of more than 400,000, if he were to go to jail, it would definitely not be less than 10 years. When he came out, she didn't want it. But for her to sell herself, wouldn't that make her a whore that could be ridden by thousands of men? Could it be that this was the only way? Yu Lily bit her lower lip and hesitated for a moment. In the end, she shook her head firmly and said in a serious tone, Sister How, I don't do that. Chapter 777. Yu Lily was shocked and quickly pushed it back and said, Sister How, no, I have money to spend now. Is it too little? No, just take it. Anyway, it's not free. When you have money, you can return it to me. How Yu smiled like a blooming peony, beautiful and charming. She took out a business card from her beautiful purse and handed it over. This is my business card. Keep in touch. Yu Lily took the business card. Night Jungle Floor Manager, How Yu. Following How Yu out of the restaurant, she found that How Yu was driving a beautiful red Porsche. The model was the latest model of this year, and even the license plate number was beautiful and enviable. So rich. Yu Lily enviously watched her car disappear into the distance, and obediently walked to the nearby subway station. Buying old mobile phones, computers, washing machines. The familiar sound of a horn on the street made Yu Lily freeze in place. Hearing the sound go away, she suddenly had an idea. Looking down, she looked at her bag. This was a limited edition Milan International brand that Oh Ming gave her on her 20th birthday. When coming out of Shishan Villa, Yu Lily took 5 or 6 bags out. Each of them was a famous brand bag with a price of hundreds of thousands of yuan. Although they had been used for a few years, they could be exchanged for some money. The next day, Yu Lily went to the local luxury goods market with her bag. After some haggling, Yu Lily sold 5 bags and got a total of 318,000 yuan. Out of the market, Yu Lily only had a red bag left, which was the cheapest of all her bags. Probably because she had used it for a long time, and suddenly sold it all, Yu Lily felt a little empty. She picked up the phone and called Lida, but no one answered the phone for a long time. She simply ignored it and took the subway home, but found that there were a lot of people around the door. Wasn't the direction that everyone was surrounding the small apartment where she lived? Yu Lily's heart was inexplicably thumping, and she quickly walked up and asked, What's wrong? As soon as she walked into the door, she found that everything in the whole house had been scattered. The sofa was scraped open, and the springs, cotton, and sponge inside all leaked out. The glass coffee table had been smashed into smithereens, and the computer on the computer table had been broken into 2 pieces, exposing the motherboard inside. The ground was covered with glass shards. It was an unsightly sight. Yu Lily looked inside incredulously. The wall was sprayed with graffiti, Shameless Mistress. Seducing someone else's husband, shameless. There was also a big clown at the back. Suddenly, Yu Lily strode in. The door to the room was not closed. As soon as he entered, he saw that it was a bed. The bedding and pillows were all wet. The photos that were hung all over the wall were all smashed and fell to the ground. Yu Lily stood at the door and couldn't believe what she saw. Walking in step by step, Yu Lily looked down at the photos. Unknowingly, his vision had already turned blurry. The broken glass photo frame was scattered all over the place. As for the photos, they were all lying on the wet ground. Every single photo had been sprayed with graffiti spray. The picture that was originally clear could no longer be seen. Chapter 778. Squatting down and looking at it, Yu Lily's eyes filled with tears suddenly fell down. What should I do? The photo frame was still the same photo frame she was familiar with, but the images of her happiness were completely gone. What should I do? Suddenly, Yu Lily suddenly remembered that the table in the room was gone. On the table, there was a thick diary. That book had recorded many of her feelings. Yu Lily looked back and found that the body on the table was lying quietly on the ground. As for the diary, it had already disappeared without a trace. Under the bed, under the wardrobe, there was nothing. Yu Lily opened the wardrobe and found that all the clothes in the wardrobe had been sprayed with wax. The wardrobe was full of clothes, with few famous brands and decent clothes that she had bought over the years. The clothes that she had carefully protected all these years were in her own home, in her own wardrobe, and not a single part of them was left intact. Looking at the wardrobe full of colorful wax, Yu Lily stood there slightly stunned. The onlookers outside had come in. Aunt Zhao, the neighbor, saw her like this, and her face was full of sympathy. She said, "Girl, call the police. There are cameras in our community. These bastards will definitely be punished." "Yes, it's too much. How can they bully people like this? I don't know how they got in. What are the security guards doing?" The noise was louder and louder. In Yu Lily's small and messy house, it was particularly noisy. Taking out the mobile phone from her bag, Yu Lily did not call the police first, but pressed the one button. Soon the call page popped up, and the 3 words, "Oh," jumped into her eyes. Seeing these 3 words, Yu Lily's sadness and pain in her heart became more and more turbulent. Why did this happen? This wasn't the situation she wanted. She shouldn't be like this. After leaving Oh Ming, she should live like a proud peacock. She should let Oh Ming see that his canary wouldn't die without him. One day, she could also be successful and stand by his side. Whenever people mentioned Yu Lily, it was no longer Yu Lily, the woman who was kept by Oh Ming. Instead, he thought, Yu Lily is a very powerful person. She's just right for Oh Ming. It should be like this. Why did it turn out like this? Looking at those 3 words, Yu Lily's tears broke the dam and flowed down like a torrent. Suddenly, his phone vibrated, and the countdown on the call screen began. At 7:00 in the evening, Oh Ming was socializing. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was a completely unfamiliar number from the imperial capital. Oh Ming had wanted to ignore it, but for some reason, he couldn't help but think about what his assistant had said about Yu Lily. Yu Lily of the capital. His partner's voice faded into the distance. Somehow, he picked up the phone. However, there was a lot of noise coming from the other side. All kinds of voices gathered together, and it was impossible to hear what was being said. Oh Ming didn't say anything. He held the phone and listened to the voice on the other side. However, he didn't hear a voice from the other side. Instead, he heard a low sniffling sound. Chapter 779. There was a moment of silence, and neither side spoke first. Because Oh Ming picked up the phone, the partner did not speak again, quietly waiting for him. Yu Lily heard the silence on the other side, and finally couldn't help but sob softly. Oh Ming had already guessed who it was, but when he heard the voice, he still couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. It's her. She finally came to me. Yu Lily owed a lot of debt, and she had no way out. But she came to me again because of money. Because of the dirty and stinky money. Hundreds of thousands was just pocket change for him, but it could force the treasure in his hands to this point. How ridiculous. Oh Ming tightened his hand, and in his dark brown eyes, there was an indescribable complexity, layer by layer, obscure. After a long while, he asked, "Who is it?" The two words of indifference and alienation were like a cold arrow piercing Yu Lily's heart. Her hand trembled, and she took the phone in front of her and hung up. The call lasted for 1 minute and 33 seconds. It was a short time, but for Yu Lily, it was like several centuries. Distant, alienated. Taking a deep breath, Yu Lily called the police. The phone was busy. Oh Ming's dark brown eyes seemed to be covered with several layers of flying sand, and it was difficult to see the real emotion in them. Nothing said. Looking at the strange number, Oh Ming pressed the new contact. Nickname note, bitch. Master O, if there is no problem, let's sign the contract. I hope we can cooperate happily. Oh Ming put the phone away, and a polite smile gathered on his face, but it didn't reach his eyes. He took the contract and read it page by page, but his mind was muddled. In the end, he couldn't read it patiently, so he signed his name. I have something urgent, so I have to go. Xiao Zhou, entertain Mr. Wang. Oh Ming stood up. He was tall, and when he stood up, there was a sense of pressure. Yes. Oh Ming strode out of the box, picked up the phone, and dialed the assistant of the capital branch. Check the status of Yu Lily. Su Ching was stunned and asked, now? Yes. Yes. When the police arrived at the apartment, they took a look and finally determined that it was malicious damage to private property. He checked the surveillance cameras and found that the people on the left bank were all wrapped up tightly. Their faces could not be seen at all. They were also wearing hats. They were not familiar people. They had used the key card to open the door when the security guard was not paying attention. Yu Lily insisted that it must have something to do with Li De or his wife. The police searched through the night and led Yu Lily to the hospital to find her. Li De was eating with his wife. After hearing about Yu Lily's situation, he sneered and said, "It seems that someone couldn't stand it and helped me get revenge. Or, you seduced more than my husband, so someone retaliated against you." Yu Lily was so angry that she laughed and said, "Do you think that hiring someone to make trouble for me is flawless? Apart from you, I can't think of anyone else who would take revenge on me. If you're so capable, why don't you be a little prettier? You're ugly, yet you're causing trouble." Mrs. Li was so angry that her eyes turned red. She roared, "Bitch, don't go too far." Chapter 780. What is it? I don't know. You have to have evidence to prove it. Mrs. Li crossed her arms. Seeing her like that, she felt an indescribable joy in her heart. With a sympathetic look, she shook her head and said, "It seems that those things are very important to you. Although I don't know who did it, they did a good job. This is how to deal with bitches." Yu Lily didn't believe it and repeated, "Give it back to me." Not with me. Mrs. Li smiled happily. Only God will punish the wicked. Good job. Mrs. Li, is it convenient for you to show us your phone? A police officer stretched out his hand. It sounded like a question, but his tone did not allow for a response. Mrs. Li snorted and said, "Of course, take a look." She took out her mobile phone and threw it. The police officer caught it firmly. Password. Mrs. Lee told the password. The police officers looked at her text messages, call records, and various social media, but they didn't find any similar traces. Do you have any other mobile phones? No, my mobile phone has a dual card. Who needs so many mobile phones these days? Mrs. Lee was a little impatient and took the mobile phone back. What about yours? Yu Lily looked at Li De, who was lying on the bed without speaking, and said, "Take out your mobile phone." At the scene, everyone's eyes fell on Li De. Yu Lily clearly noticed that there was a subtle change in Mrs. Lee's look. She was more sure and looked at Li De and said, "Mr. Lee, please take out your mobile phone." Mrs. Lee stood in front of Li De's bed and said, "His mobile phone was broken in the car accident, and he hasn't bought a new one." Impossible. Yu Lily's eyes were sharp, staring straight at her. How long has it been? Even if it's broken, it's impossible not to buy a new one. Moreover, the phone is not broken at all. I saw it on the bedside table yesterday. It's perfectly fine. You don't dare to take it out now. Is it because you have a guilty conscience? Mrs. Lee was angry. Do you have to be so aggressive? Mrs. Lee, it is you who is aggressive. My loss, I have roughly calculated, has reached up to 200,000 yuan. My clothes, a computer, furniture in the house, and some things that cannot be measured by money are not what you can afford. Yu Lily's eyes were redder, and her voice was sonorous. Please, take out your mobile phone. The police officers also noticed that Yu Lily was emotional. They reached out to comfort her and reached out to Li De. Mr. Lee, take out your phone. Mrs. Lee's expression changed slightly and looked at her husband with uncertainty. However, Li De's face darkened to the extreme. He said, "I told you, I don't have a cell phone. Come and search me." Yu Lily was furious and shouted, "Get up. He must be hiding in the bed. You don't have the right to do this. I said we don't have it, so we don't have it. I'm a good friend of your Chief Zhao. Do you dare to search?" Li De's voice was loud and full of energy. The two police officers looked at each other in dismay, but in the end, they didn't do anything. To say the least, even if it was Li De who did it, Li De would not admit it. Maybe he would use some means to put Yu Lily in jail. At that time, if they were also targeted by the higher-ups, it would be troublesome. Chapter 781. But before she got close, she was grabbed by Mrs. Lee and shouted, "You still want to seduce my husband? Get out of here. Bitch." Yu Lily was dragged out. Mrs. Lee saw her beautiful and delicate face and felt even more jealous. She reached out and slapped Yu Lily hard. Yu Lily couldn't avoid it and was slapped hard in the face. Then, before she could recover, she was pushed by Mrs. Lee and fell to the ground. The police officers immediately ran up and gave Mrs. Lee ideological education and warning. However, they had no intention of letting Li Dejiao take out the mobile phone. Yu Lily covered her face, got up and was about to hit back, but was stopped by two police officers. Under Mrs. Lee's proud and comfortable gaze, Yu Lily was pulled out. As soon as she got out of the ward, Yu Lily shouted, "She hit me, police, you saw that woman hit me." "Enough, didn't you scold them very well?" The police's face was very ugly. "Now it's an eye for an eye, but I advise you not to go against them. You have no background at all. This is very deep. If you have money, you should pay the money quickly. If you don't have money, I'm afraid you will really go to jail." Yu Lily suppressed a night of grievances, suppressed for several days, suddenly like the Yellow River bursting its dike, crazily rushed out. With tears rolling down, Yu Lily couldn't help crying. Why can they bully people like this? Why should I be bullied like this? Just because I am an orphan, just because I have no background. It's obvious that they did it. Why don't you investigate it? It turns out that you are also officials protecting each other. I thought this was something that only existed in ancient times. What absolute justice. Bah. Lily's voice was not low, and it was particularly loud in this quiet hospital. The two police officers quickly dragged her away. After leaving the hospital, they looked at each other and looked at Lily sympathetically and guiltily. They said, "Miss Yu, I wish you good luck." I wish you good luck. Could she be even more unlucky now? She was inexplicably molested, so she lost her job and was falsely accused of being a mistress. She owed a lot of debt, and now she couldn't go home. Could he be even more unlucky? If you have the guts, let me go out and get hit by a car again. Lily stood at the entrance of the hospital and shouted. Her voice was nasal. Little did he know that his every move had fallen into the eyes of another person. Su Qing saw this and quickly called Ming. He reported Lily's current situation, and all he got was a long period of silence. Su Qing waited for Ming's reply without saying anything. After a long time, Ming ordered, "Continue to follow them, and report back if anything happens." Yes. It was past 10 at night. Fortunately, there was still a subway to go back. Lily took the subway back, but when she got out of the station, she found that the balance of the bus card was insufficient. Left with no choice, he could only top up his ticket at the service counter before leaving. Back home, Lily tidied up and found that her clothes were basically scrapped. Fortunately, the clothes that were hung outside were still intact. Although there was only one set, there was at least one set that could be changed. She tidied up the house and threw away the mattress and pillows that had been splashed with water, as well as the furniture that had been almost completely destroyed. Chapter 782. After throwing out the last bag of garbage, Lily looked at the empty house and felt sad. Suddenly, there was the sound of someone pressing the doorbell. Looking through the peephole, it was the landlord. Lily felt a little surprised. The landlord lived a little far away. Did he come to watch the scene in the middle of the night? The landlord was a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s. As soon as he entered the door, he exclaimed. He looked at the door lock and the door panel and found that they were badly damaged. The furniture, wardrobe, walls, and kitchen were all destroyed. The landlord's face became more and more ugly. He looked at Lily and said, You have lived here for several years. Have I been good to you?" Lily had already lowered her head with guilt. When she heard this, she immediately felt that something was wrong. She looked up at the landlord with some confusion in her eyes. "Originally, I let you live in because I saw that it was not easy for a girl like you. Moreover, you love cleanliness and will cherish my house and furniture. Now, you have provoked someone and destroyed the house like this. All the furniture is gone. I have suffered a great loss, little you. Hey. Look at your house, you can't sleep tonight. You pack up and get a room to sleep. You just paid more than 8,000 yuan a few days ago. In fact, it is not enough for me to replace the furniture. I have to decorate the floor and the walls. Forget it, you can go like this. You don't have to pay for other things." The landlord waved his hand and sighed. Lily was even more shocked and exclaimed, "How can you do this? I think I have been good to you over the years, but of course, you have to pay for the hatred you have provoked. I won't ask you for the decoration costs. Go." Lily's throat was sore, and her eyes were red. She almost couldn't help crying. Seeing this, the landlord just shook his head and sighed, saying, "Little you, it's not that I'm cruel, but I can't explain it to my wife. You should prepare yourself. I'll call someone to clean up the house tomorrow." With that, he turned around and left. Looking at his back, Lily's heart was empty. Lily packed her things in a daze and found that the remaining usable things were not even half full of the suitcase. Dragging her suitcase, Lily walked on the street in a daze. There was a 5-star hotel across the street from the neighborhood. It cost more than 700 yuan a night to stay in. Lily just glanced at it and skipped it with her suitcase. After walking for a long time, he finally found a cheap hotel that cost 100 yuan a night. After moving in, Lily realized that the place was not just any ordinary shabby place. The soundproofing was so bad that even the creaking sound of the bed next door could be heard. The woman's moans and the man's low growls reached Lily's ears, which made her even more upset. Lily didn't dare to sleep on the bed directly, so she used the clothes she had worn before lying down. Lily threw the quilt on the floor and covered herself with a slightly thicker layer of clothing before lying down. After the noise from next door stopped, everything finally quietened down. Late at night, it was silent. Suddenly, his phone rang. He had received a text message. "Hello, miss you, I am Officer Zhou who dealt with you today. Mr. Li's list has been sent to you through WeChat. You need to pay a total of 495,629 yuan. Please negotiate with the other party as soon as possible." Looking at the text message, Lily wrapped herself in her clothes and laughed. Her tears fell down uncontrollably. Chapter 783. She didn't know when she fell asleep, and her memory returned to Kingstown many years ago. The night was boundless, and the first 2 floors of Star City were the biggest entertainment venues in Kingstown. Luxury and debauchery, indulgence and extravagance. Lily was taken to a beautiful and luxurious private room, which was decorated in a beautiful ancient European style, and beautiful and hot women stood side by side with her. The private room was full of men, and everyone's expression was lustful and picky as if they were looking at goods. Lily, who was 17 years old, still had a young face, but her body had grown a little. The red strapless dress made her white and delicate skin more beautiful and charming, with a touch of youth and sweetness. Seeing Lily, many people's eyes lit up. They stared at her with undisguised naked eyes, which made Lily feel a little scared, and she desperately shrank back, trying to reduce her sense of existence. Lowering her head, Lily wanted to escape, but she was immediately pushed in by a sister, who whispered, "Get used to it. Don't be afraid, a virgin like you is the most valuable. Let's see if you can hold on to a good thigh today. After you are proficient in the business, you will soar to the sky. This is how you." Lily emboldened herself, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and silently hid behind. Madame Mulberry had no time to care about her, smiled flatteringly, and said to the man who laughed the most happily in the crowd, "Mr. Zhou, here are all the girls who are free tonight, and there are a few new girls. Which one do you like?" The man who was called Mr. Zhou's face immediately changed, and said, "Don't you understand? Master O is here, and I don't have the right to speak first." Then he looked at the deepest part of the crowd. A very young man, holding a glass of wine, leaned on the sofa, out of place with the surrounding atmosphere. There was no woman around him, and no one approached within 5 meters of him. The man who was called Master O was leaning lazily, without any intention to get up, but a pair of beautiful almond-shaped eyes, in the bright yellow light, looked particularly intoxicating, and his eyes fell with great interest on Lily, who had been retreating. When Lily met his gaze, she shivered and shrank back. O Ming held the wine glass and pointed at the girl, who was desperately trying to shrink back to reduce her presence. His interest was aroused, and he asked, "Are you an adult?" Everyone could see that he was looking at Lily. Mama Mulberry smiled and went to the crowd to pull her out. She smiled and said, "It's done. You're just 18. As soon as she came out, the naked eyes around her fell on her unscrupulously. Lily was so scared that her face turned pale. She said in horror, "No. No. I'm only 17. Then, she looked at Hao Yu for help and said, Sister Hao, I don't want to do this anymore. I'd better be a waitress, Sister Hao. For a moment, all eyes fell on the young and beautiful Hao Yu. Hao Yu looked a little embarrassed and said, It's your blessing that Master O likes you. Yu Lily was so scared that she almost cried. She didn't know where to put her hands. In front of these experienced people, she seemed a little nervous and restrained. However, it was precisely this kind of little girl that aroused the interest of many people present. Chapter 784. The process of transforming a girl into a woman was undoubtedly very wonderful. Such a girl was a virgin at first glance. Who wouldn't like it? However, it just so happened that this man had taken a liking to her. Everyone looked at Yu Lily and O Ming. O Ming put down the wine glass in his hand and waved at her. Come here. Yu Lily was a little resistant, and her mom gave Hao Yu a look. Hao Yu was also a little embarrassed. She gently pushed Yu Lily and said, Go ahead. Don't you want to go to school? You can't even pay the tuition now. How can you catch up with that person? Go ahead. Don't forget that you still owe me money. Yu Lily was a little reluctant. She looked up and found that the man over there was still looking at her. That pair of eyes is so beautiful. That eye shape is called peach eyes. When I draw, I like to draw that kind of eyes. Very beautiful. O Ming looked at her sideways with a wicked and beautiful smile on his lips. Sitting quietly and looking at him, Yu Lily had an indescribable feeling. This man is a bit deep. Yu Lily did not move. No matter how you pushed her, Yu Lily was not willing to go over. Hey, little girl, your service attitude is not good. Didn't you say you want to be a waiter? How can you be a waiter if you don't serve the customers well? Mr. Zhou was a little angry and shouted, Go over. Yu Lily still did not move. Mr. Zhou sneered, took out the leather armor, and bought a large stack of money. At a glance, there were at least a few thousand. Go over, these are all yours. Yu Lily looked at the red banknotes and was a little tempted. However, if she went over, wouldn't it be selling herself? How could it be? She just wanted to earn the tuition. Sister Hao said that the salary of a waiter here was high. When she first came, she didn't know anything. She thought that a waiter would serve tea and wine, wipe the table, and entertain the guests, just like a waiter in ancient times. But who knew that to do this kind of service? If she had known, she would not have come. Feeling distressed, Yu Lily glanced at him, but still took a step back and said, I don't want to do this, You all go out. O Ming suddenly said and stood up. Yu Lily was inexplicably flustered. Seeing O Ming's approaching footsteps, she was so frightened that she shrank back. The women behind him had good eyesight. Of course, they all knew that young Master O's status was the highest among these childs. After Yu Lily was pushed back, there were fewer and fewer people in the private room, and all of them had left. Yu Lily also wanted to go out, but she was pushed back one by those who wanted to go out. Sister Hao. Yu Lily cried out for help. I don't want to do it anymore. Can't I? Hao Yu looked back and said with some guilt, Little Yu, when you just came, you signed the contract. Then, the private room door was closed. Yu Lily tried to pull the door of the private room and hit it hard. Tears of fear immediately gathered in her eyes. The sound of leather shoes came from behind her. Yu Lily turned around and found that the young and handsome man was already in front of her. On O Ming's face, there was an incomprehensible evil aura. Chapter 785. O Ming held a cup in his hand, with a pair of beautiful peach eyes full of interest. He slightly bent his eyes and asked, What's your name? Yu Lily looked at the man getting closer and closer in front of her, swallowed, and quickly bowed her head and said, "You." Full name. "I'm Li Yu. Carp." Oh Ming heard that and chuckled. Such a strange name. Then, he pulled her. "Come here." Yu Lily's hand was caught, and the man's rough palm grabbed her. Inexplicably, Yu Lily had a feeling of being electrocuted, and her heart was a little nervous. This hand was not the same as Louis Han's hand. Louis Han's hand was very rough, very big, and gave people a sense of security. This man's hand was also very big, but it felt different from Louis Han's. This was a pair of pampered hands, completely different from hers and Su Qianxi's. Being pulled to sit on the sofa, Yu Lily was a little scared and shrank back to keep herself away from him. Oh Ming did not care. His legs were crossed, and the movement naturally revealed a kind of noble aura. Yu Lily suddenly felt a sense of shame. This man was so beautiful. It had nothing to do with her beauty, but it was something she was born with. There was an indescribable elegance in her gestures, as if she was born to be a noble, which made her feel a little ashamed. "How old are you?" 17, tell me the truth." 17. Really? Well. Yu Lily bowed her head with her hands on her legs, staring at her skirt. Oh Ming poured her a glass of juice and asked, "Are you here to earn tuition?" Yu Lily was shocked and looked up. "How do you know?" But after asking, she realized that how you had just said it. Oh Ming chuckled and said, "So young, you really shouldn't do this kind of thing. Are you in college?" "Yes, I was admitted to Kingstown University of Foreign Studies. Learning language. Computer, not enough tuition." "Not enough." Yu Lily looked down. "I am an orphan, and I have to earn it if I want to go to school." Oh Ming smiled and did not speak. In the back, Yu Lily and Oh Ming were sitting on the sofa. Yu Lily was in a daze, while Oh Ming was playing games on the game console. After sitting for a long time, Oh Ming stood up and said, "Let's go eat together. I'm hungry." "Aw." Yu Lily was stunned and a little confused. She didn't know what he meant. She followed him out in a daze. Yu Lily had never eaten such a delicious meal. He had never been to such a high-class place. As he ate, he smiled at her and asked, "Is it delicious?" As Yu Lily ate, she smiled and nodded. "Delicious. Then, I'll bring you here often in the future." Oh Ming smiled, which scared Yu Lily out of her wits. Later, Oh Ming settled her contract with the entertainment place and let her live in his house. He paid for her tuition, bought her a lot of beautiful clothes and a lot of beautiful bags, and took her to eat delicious food. At first, she thought she had met a good person and thanked him profusely. Oh Ming smiled wickedly and said to her, "It's good to be grateful. Don't worry, when I grow up and earn money, I will definitely return the money to you." Chapter 786. In order to save money at the beginning of the semester, Yu Lily did not live on campus. If she did not live on campus, she could save more than 1,000 yuan a semester, so she simply continued to live in Oh Ming's villa. In Oh Ming's words, it was empty anyway. Later, Yu Lily learned that the villa Oh Ming let her live in was much more expensive. At that time, she had no concept of holidays in Kingstown. She lived alone in this big villa for half a semester, and no one knew that she lived in such a place. However, one day after class, Yu Lily went directly to the restaurant where she worked. When she got off work, it was already past 9 o'clock in the evening. She returned to the villa with a few bags of instant noodles. When she opened the door, she found a pair of men's shoes at the door. While she was shocked, she also smelled the fragrance coming from inside. So fragrant. Just like the Western food that Oh Ming once took me to eat, so fragrant. Holding the instant noodles, Lily shouted, "Mr. O? Is that you?" A subtle voice came from inside, and then a man's voice sounded, "Well, it's me." Lily breathed a sigh of relief. After changing her shoes in the hallway, she walked in. Oh Ming was sitting in the dining room, and his big hand was opening a takeaway box. Lily came over, smelled it, and exclaimed, "It smells so good. Did you buy it?" "Well, wash your hands and eat." Oh Ming opened the lid and saw her smile. He raised his red lips, looked around, and saw the shopping bag in her arms. "What did you buy?" "Instant noodles." Lily picked it up and shook it with a proud face. "It's easy to be hungry in the middle of the night. I can eat some instant noodles, which saves me time and money." Oh Ming's face was not very good. He grabbed the shopping bag, threw it aside, and said, "You eat this kind of thing when you're hungry? Don't you have a job? Why do you keep the money?" Lily's face was a little red. She lowered her head and whispered, "I want to save it. When I save more, I will give it back to you." Oh Ming's face softened a little. He looked at her and suddenly smiled. The curve was slanted with evil charm, which made Lily blush. He ordered, "Go wash your hands." She nodded her head and obediently went to wash her hands. Then, she took the fork that Oh Ming handed to her. Lily took a piece of spaghetti and ate it. She was hungry, and she hadn't eaten anything like this for a long time, so she ate in a hurry. "Eat slowly." Oh Ming's thin lips curved into a smile. He took one for himself and ate gracefully. Although Oh Ming was a man, he had been raised well since he was a child. It was a simple meal, but it made him feel like he was eating at a banquet. And he, shockingly, was the emperor who was enjoying the Manchu Han imperial feast, naturally exuding an air of nobility. Lily blushed and lowered her head to roll the spaghetti. Her movements became slower and slower. Looking at him, Lily slowly followed suit. Oh Ming sensed it but didn't expose it. After eating, he took out a napkin and slowly wiped the corners of his mouth, saying, "Girls should treat themselves better. If you were a little fatter, you would definitely be very beautiful." Lily's small face was only the size of a palm, and her eyes were big but a little dull. Because of lack of sleep, they looked a little hollow. Lily blushed again when she heard his words. She lowered her head and said softly, "Thank you." Chapter 787. So handsome, Lily's face was redder, and she felt a little short of oxygen. After cleaning the table, Lily didn't dare to look up. When she came back from throwing the garbage, Oh Ming was not in the dining room. He was not in the living room either. Lily was a little disappointed. However, just as she walked into the room, she heard footsteps coming from inside. Lily was shocked and shouted, "Who is it?" Oh Ming looked out and stood at the door of the cloakroom, holding a bathrobe in his hand. "Who else can it be?" Lily blinked, looked at the clothes in his hand, and was a little surprised. Well, from today on, I will live here. But, this is my room." After Lily said that, she felt a little embarrassed. It seemed that this was Oh Ming's place, and she was just living temporarily. Oh Ming didn't care and took the bathrobe into the bathroom. Lily quickly went into the cloakroom and opened the wardrobe. She found that half of the wardrobe was stuffed with men's clothes. Looking back, the sheets and bedding had been changed to men's dark color. The pillow that had been put away by her was put down again, and there were 2 pillows. "This is the rhythm of living with me." Lily was stunned and suddenly felt a little disgusted. It turned out that he really had a purpose to be good to me. He still wanted her. Lily felt a little lost. While he was taking a bath, she took the spare quilt and pillow from the wardrobe and carried them out of the living room. There were many rooms in the villa, but many of them were empty. Only the master bedroom had a bed. If Oh Ming was here, she had to sleep on the sofa. After making the quilt, Oh Ming came out while drying his hair. Seeing her behavior, his dark brown eyes were slightly deep, and he chuckled and said, "You Lily." "Aw." You Lily jumped up reflexively and turned to see Oh Ming's black bathrobe. The beautiful and healthy lines were easily outlined, and Yu Lily's face turned red. Immediately turning back, Yu Lily's body was stiff, and her heart was in a mess. She said, "You. How do you know my name?" At that time, I should have told him Carp. Oh Ming chuckled when he heard that. Inexplicably, he felt that this question was very amusing. His thin lips curled into a smile. He walked over and glanced at the quilt on the sofa. "I'll catch a cold if I sleep here. I'm not used to sleeping on the sofa." Yu Lily blushed even more and quickly waved her hand. "No, I didn't want you to sleep here. I'll sleep. You sleep in the room, and I'll sleep on the sofa. Girls can't sleep on the sofa. Let's sleep together." As he spoke, he grabbed her hand and frowned in disgust. "Where do you work?" Yu Lily reluctantly withdrew her hand. When she heard his question, she replied, "A Cantonese restaurant. The smell is so strong. Go take a bath. Don't go there again." "No, I have to work to earn money." Yu Lily's reaction was a little intense. She took her hand back, and her young face was red. "I want to make money. I owe you a lot of money. Wait a minute." With that, Yu Lily broke away from his hand and ran into the room. Opening the bedside cabinet, Yu Lily took out a book. However, before she stood up, she heard the sound of the door being closed and locked. Chapter 788. Really? Oh Ming felt a little surprised and reached out to take the book in her hand. "Let me have a look." Opening the book, Oh Ming saw the beautiful words inside at a glance. Everything was recorded, including food, clothes, and gifts. Oh Ming glanced at it and squatted down to check the drawer of the bed. Pulling it open, there was a paper box in it, which looked like the box he bought her new mobile phone. He opened the box, which was full of tags. They were all the clothes he bought for her, and the tags were all saved. With a chuckle, Oh Ming turned to look at her. Yu Lily met his eyes and shrank back. "You are young, but you have a lot of ideas." Oh Ming closed the lid of the box and said, "How are you going to exchange? Not only these things, but many of them you have missed." "Aw." Yu Lily panicked and asked, "What did I miss?" "I will register it right away." "And me." Oh Ming looked at her with a smile. The 3 words made Yu Lily's heart suddenly panic, and she blushed and took a step back. "I am the only heir of the O group. Do you know how much I am worth?" Oh Ming took a step closer, and she was scared to take a step back. Shaking her head, Yu Lily's neck tendons were stiff, and she looked at him inexplicably nervous. Oh Ming raised his eyebrows and chuckled, with a faint smile on his lips, and approached her step by step. "I accompany you to eat, accompany you to school, and accompany you to shop for clothes. How much time is spent? You can calculate it yourself." Yu Lily looked blank, and she was so nervous that she held her breath. "What are you afraid of?" "I won't eat you." Oh Ming smiled and reached out to pull her. "Go take a bath, and then go to bed." Hearing this, Yu Lily swallowed and looked straight at Oh Ming with a pair of beautiful big eyes. She looked serious, but when the words came to her mouth, they became a nervous stutter. I am not an adult, you can't do this, I." The more Yu Lily said, the hotter her face became. She bowed her head slightly, and her eyes were red. "I can't do this, what are you thinking about?" Oh Ming reached out and touched her head, laughing. I just want you to take a bath. Go. What are you waiting for? You want me to wash it for you? When Lily heard that, her face burned even more. She picked up the pajamas she had just found and walked into the bathroom with her head down. Looking at her back, Oh Ming chuckled and muttered to himself, what a cute little girl. When she came out of the shower, Oh Ming was sitting on the edge of the bed with a computer on his feet. Noticing that she had come out, Oh Ming ordered without looking up, come here. Lily blushed and dried her hair. My hair isn't dry yet. Blow dry. Oh Ming didn't look at her. His voice was simple and clear. After drying her hair in the bathroom, she didn't dare to go out. After the hairdryer stopped for a few minutes, Oh Ming said, why aren't you coming out yet? Are you going to spend the night in there? Lily's breathing suddenly quickened. She held the hairdryer with both hands, and her heart felt a little uncomfortable. She couldn't do this. She had to give her first time to the person she liked the most. Louis Han had not agreed to be her boyfriend yet. How could she give herself to another man? Chapter 789. Oh Ming's voice was threatening. Lily was so scared that she quickly pulled out the hairdryer and walked out with it. The man was still leaning against the bed, looking at her with a faint smile. I have to say that this man is very good-looking. But he seems to be a little old. Lily silently disliked him and put the hairdryer back. Oh Ming waved to her. Come here and see how it is. Lily took a deep breath and moved over there with small steps. The bed was very big, and Oh Ming was in the middle of it. No matter which side she went up from, she had to climb onto the bed to see his computer. What a scheming man. Lily thought silently and climbed up gently, a little. Oh Ming reached out and pulled her hard. Lily screamed and fell into his arms. A strong, masculine smell came to her. The strange feeling and the strange tension surrounded Lily tightly. Looking at the front with a frightened face, Lily's heart was beating like thunder. But at the same time, there was an inexplicable sense of guilt for cheating. It seemed that she was cheating on him. Although Louis Han had not promised to be her boyfriend, how could she cheat on him first? However, before Lily had time to think more, Oh Ming lifted her up, turned her head to look at the computer screen, and asked, what do you think of this person? Nanny. Lily was a little surprised. Do you want to find a nanny? Yes. Lily's eyes lit up and looked at him. What do you think of me? Shall I be your nanny? Being his nanny, maybe the salary is very high. If that's the case, wouldn't I be able to return the money earlier? If I had known that Oh Ming was going to move in, I would not have foolishly moved in. I should have known it. I was too naive. Now I feel like I live in a wolf's den. Oh Ming met Lily's eager eyes and closed the computer. Are you sure? Yes. Lily nodded, grabbed him with both hands, and said, I can cook. My friend is very good at cooking. He taught me. I can also clean and wash clothes. Really? Yes. Lily nodded, her eyes shining. The corners of Oh Ming's mouth lifted slightly, and he nodded. All right, you can try it out tomorrow. If it's okay, I'll treat you to it. Really? Yes. Great. Lily cheered excitedly, but she suddenly realized that she was still in his arms. Lily blushed and struggled to get up, but Oh Ming pressed her down and ordered, be a good girl and go to sleep. Tomorrow is Saturday, and your probation period will begin. Okay. But I'll sleep on the sofa. Although you're much older than me, you're not married. I'm a girl. It's dangerous, Oh Ming laughed, which made Lily's face even redder. She was a little angry and looked up to ask, what are you laughing at? What are you thinking in that little head of yours? Go to sleep, lie down. Yu Lily looked at him with uncertainty. However, Ming put the computer aside, turned off the light, and lay down. Yu Lily was pressed down by him, but her body was still straight. She was ready to escape at any time if he moved. However, the night was peaceful. Chapter 790. Bang, bang, bang. The door was knocked, and Yu Lily suddenly woke up. When she came back to her senses, she was still in the hotel. After sleeping for a long time, Yu Lily felt a little pain and asked, "Who is it?" "It's time to check out. It's 12 o'clock. Don't get up." The tone was very bad, with a hurried knock on the door. Yu Lily got up grumpily and got out of bed, shouting, I know, right away. The person outside just left, and then another knock came from the door of another room. After cleaning herself up, Yu Lily quickly went out with her luggage. She found a convenience store and sat down. Yu Lily asked for a bowl of noodles and a bottle of mineral water and sat inside. She now had 300,000 yuan with her, and she still needed 200,000 yuan for the compensation. There were only less than 3 days before the compensation. How could she get 500,000 yuan in 3 days? At this point, she could only borrow money. Taking out her mobile phone, she opened WeChat, looked at the address book, hesitated, and sent a WeChat message to Su Qianxi. Yu Lily, Qian, are you there? After sending it, Yu Lily felt a little regretful. When she was ready to withdraw, she saw the logo that the other party was typing. Su Qianxi, yes, sighing in her heart, Yu Lily had to type, I want to borrow some money from you. But before she finished typing, Yu Lily's action paused. Su Qianxi was Li Xiqing's wife, and Li Xiqing was Ming's good brother. It was okay to borrow a little. But if she borrowed 200,000 yuan, she was afraid that Su Qianxi would be suspicious. If she told Li Xiqing, and Li Xiqing told Ming, what would happen to her? At that time, Ming would probably sneer and ask her, didn't you say you wanted freedom? Didn't you say you could live well without me? What are you doing? Just thinking about it, Yu Lily could imagine Ming's expression, and his sarcastic tone. Feeling suffocated, Yu Lily deleted those words one by one. Su Qianxi, is there anything urgent? Seeing this, Yu Lily inexplicably felt a little depressed. Why did even Su Qianxi ask this? Was she the kind of person who would not ask for help if there was no urgent matter? Well, although it seemed to be true, Yu Lily was a little annoyed. She thought about it and replied, I will return the money to you. He clicked on the transfer button and clicked on 5,000 yuan. She quickly accepted the money and replied, okay, got it. Yu Lily, evil smile, Su Qianxi, remember to ask me for help if you need anything. I will try my best to help you. Yu Lily, evil smile, I'll return that to you. Remember to look for me. Su Qianxi, okay. Su Qianxi replied with the last word. Looking at the emoji sent by Yu Lily, she couldn't help but smile. Li Xiqing was eating. Seeing her like this, he came over and asked, who is it? It's Lily. Su Qianxi reached out her phone. The last time I went to Ireland to look for you, she borrowed some money from me. Now she is returning it to me. Li Xiqing glanced at it and was surprised. Borrow money? He must have met with an emergency, or he couldn't withdraw his money, so he borrowed some from me. She pushed him back. Eat your food. We will take the kids to Ocean Park later. I don't want to move. You feed me. No. I only ate 2 mouthfuls. I'm not full yet. Eat it yourself. Chapter 791. Su Qianxi looked around. Fortunately, the children had eaten and gone to play, and the elders were not here. She elbowed him and said, "You starved to death. Eat it yourself." "What a cruel woman," Li Xiqing sighed. "I want to eat that rib." Su Qianxi pretended not to hear, but seeing that he really did not move, she pushed him away. "Go away. I'm so hungry that I have no energy. Go away." Su Qianxi pushed him away, then picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece of rib for him. Li Xiqing smiled triumphantly and took a bite. "Yummy." Su Qianxi looked disgusted, but she couldn't help but smile. "Mom, Dad, are you full? We still have to go to Ocean Park." Li Jianyue ran in with her short legs and saw that her mother was feeding her father. Her eyes widened and she said, "Is Dad a child? Why is Mom feeding Dad?" Su Qianxi blushed and was about to speak. Li Xiqing said first, "Because Mom loves Dad, so she has to feed Dad." Su Qianxi blushed even more and glared at him. "Don't teach bad things. It's the truth." Li Xiqing looked calm. "I want to eat fish." "Eat it yourself. It's too far. I can't reach it." Su Qianxi simply stood up and put the plate in front of Li Xiqing. "Eat it yourself." Li Jianyue seemed to understand and asked, "Why does Mom love Dad, so she has to feed Dad?" "I love Dad too. I'll feed Dad." The couple laughed, and Li Xiqing said, "Ursu, go play with your brothers. Dad and Mom will take you when they are full." "Oh." Li Jianyue shook her beautiful princess dress and walked out the door with her short legs, grinning. Li Jianqian and Li Mosin were playing aeroplane chess in the front yard, rolling the dice and counting the squares. Li Jianyue ran out and shouted, "Brother, brother, is it my turn?" Li Jianqian did not look up and said, "Mosin helped you." "Oh." Li Jianyue sat down on a small stool, and her little face was pink. "Is it my turn?" "It's your turn." Li Mosin handed the dice to her. "Throw it." Li Jianyue took the die and threw it. When she saw that it was a 6, she cheered and started to lose. She was originally 5 steps away from the finish line, but in the end, she took a step back. He tossed it again and found that it was 1. "Wow, wow, wow, I won, I won." Li Jianyue jumped off the stool happily and jumped up. Then he ran inside and shouted, "Mom, Mom, I won, I won." But Mom and Dad were not in the dining room. While Li Jianyue was puzzled, Li Xiqing's voice suddenly came from inside, "Ursu, get someone to drive over." Hearing that, the little boy immediately ran out. "Uncle, hurry up and drive the car over." Turning her head, she saw Li Xiqing carrying Captain Li out. He blinked and shouted, "Great-grandfather." However, the old man's eyes were closed and his withered and aged hands were hanging by his side. He did not open his eyes because of the little fellow's shouts. Su Qianxi's eyes were red with anxiety. Li Jianyue ran towards her and shouted, "Mom, what's wrong with great-grandfather?" Chapter 792. The patient may be under too much mental pressure. Has he experienced too many things recently? As his children and grandchildren, you should let the elderly relax a little. How can you let the elderly bear so much pressure? His blood pressure is a little high. Be careful not to stimulate the patient, and don't let the old man's imagination run wild. The doctor's words made them feel a bit strange. The old man had made great achievements in his life and was famous. He did not have to worry about food and clothing. Now he should be enjoying his old age. Why was he still under pressure? Su Qianxi did not understand, so she asked Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing seemed to know what the old man was thinking and said, "It is probably about the Tang family." "The Tang family? Su Qianxi felt a bit surprised, but soon figured it out. The Tang family and the Li family were old friends. The two families had been neighbors for several generations. Originally, the relationship between Captain Li and Captain Tang was quite good, but when it came to Tang Zhenghao and Li Zhao's generation, the relationship was not so good. When Captain Tang was alive, Captain Li and Captain Li had promised each other that they would treat each other's descendants well. But now the Tang family, Captain Tang only had one son, Tang Zhenghao, and Tang Zhenghao's son had died more than a decade ago. Now, not to mention a seedling, even the person was gone. This kind of situation had undoubtedly violated the promise between the two old men. So, that was why the old man was under so much pressure. Su Qianxi felt that she seemed to have figured it out. When she asked Li Xiqing, he just kept silent. When the old man woke up, it was already afternoon. Su Qianxi asked around and found that what the old man was thinking was not far from what she had guessed. The old man's face was haggard. He looked a little older than yesterday. He sighed, "There are not many people left in the Tang family, and I killed Tang Menjing with my own hands. If I die, I am afraid old Tang will hate me." The old man's voice was full of self-blame and guilt. Su Qianxi felt a bit sad and called, "Grandpa, right, Qianqian." Captain Li looked up at Su Qianxi with his cloudy eyes. "Can you help me call Xiao Lu over?" "Yihan." Su Qianxi was dazed, not expecting Lu Yihan to be mentioned. The old man nodded and lowered his eyes in guilt. "I've let that kid down. Let him come over and let me apologize to him in person. He was the one who gave Lu Yihan hope. If it weren't for him, Lu Yihan wouldn't even dare to think about it. He thought Li Xiqing was dead, so, he had done too many wrong things. Grandpa, wait a minute. I will make the call." She patted the old man's hand and dialed Lu Yihan's number. There was a type of person who wouldn't visit a temple for no reason. At noon, Lu Yihan was having lunch when he suddenly received a WeChat message. The sender was a name that he hadn't heard for a long time, Yu Lily. "Yu Lily, Lu Yihan, are you there?" Lu Yihan, "Yes." "Yu Lily, voice, I want to borrow some money from you." Lu Yihan, "I know it's you. How much do you want?" Yu Lily, 200,000,200,000 was not a lot, but it was not a small amount. When Yu Lily typed this number, she felt nervous and complicated. She was afraid that he would refuse and ask. After all, in his heart, she was already unbearable. Would he think that she was trying to cheat him of his money? Chapter 793. 200,000 was neither a lot nor a small amount. However, people like Yu Lily cared a lot about her reputation. If it was not a last resort, she would not come to him to borrow money. Thinking about it, Lu Yihan asked, "What do you need it for?" Yu Lily, "Well, it's a long story. I'm so unlucky." Lu Yihan, "Not good." Yu Lily thought about it, and when she was about to explain, she received a message from Lu Yihan. There were only 2 words, account number. Yu Lily's eyes were hot, and she almost burst into tears. For people like O Ming and Li Xiqing, this amount of money may really be just a fraction. But for Lu Yihan, who had just started his career, this amount was definitely not a small amount. However, he directly asked her for her account number, which made Yu Lily almost burst into tears. She took out her wallet and sent the account number. While eating, Lu Yihan transferred money to her using his mobile bank account. After the transfer, he sent her a screenshot and said, "Done. Yu Lily, thank you very much. I will return it to you as soon as possible." Lu Yihan, "You are welcome." Lu Yihan, "Where are you now? Why haven't I heard from you recently?" Yu Lily felt a bit ironic. Lu Yihan really did not care about her at all. She had left Kingstown for 4 years, and he actually said that he had not heard from her recently. Thinking about it, she replied, I am in the south of the rosy clouds, beautiful Dolly, traveling. Louis Han, I am so happy. Yuli, it's just that I have been unlucky recently and encountered something. Hey, I will tell you more when I get back. Louis Han, okay. Yuli breathed a sigh of relief. There was finally $500,000 in her card. However, the money she owed Louis Han had to be paid as soon as possible. What kind of work could make money quickly? In addition to selling her body, what else could she do to make money quickly? Yuli took a sip of mineral water, rummaged through her bag, and found the white business card. Night Jungle Floor Manager, how you? After Louis Han transferred the money to Yuli, he quickly finished his meal. His partner, who had a good relationship with him, came over, put his hand on his shoulder, and said, let's go out for a barbecue tonight and drink together. Okay. Louis Han put the phone away and closed the lunchbox. Where are we going? The same place. Bring your roommate as well. That kid is quite fun. He doesn't look young anymore, right? Introduce him to a few girls. As he said that, he had a wretched smile on his face, as if saying, you know what I'm talking about. Louis Han pushed him angrily and said, go away, he has a girlfriend, and now he has moved out to rent a place with her. Really? Her colleague obviously didn't believe it. You're no longer single. Nonsense, why would I lie to you? You still have to find them and teach them some techniques to get rid of singlehood. I'll leave it to you. I'm going to ask someone else out. He won't go. Louis Han made a direct conclusion, but he did not intend to contact Luo Zhan. His colleague looked displeased. Then you should contact him too. Give me your phone, I'll make the appointment. Seeing the outstretched hand in front of him, Louis Han sighed and said, forget it, you go to ask someone else, I'll make the call. Did you quarrel? What do I have to quarrel with him? Go away, I'll make the call. Louis Han found Luo Zhan's phone number and dialed it. Chapter 794. What the hell? Can't get through. Louis Han dialed again, and the result was still the same. The colleague came over again, and Louis Han deliberately turned on the speaker. Look, I can't get through. The signal is not good. Let me do it. The colleague copied Luo Zhan's number and called with his own mobile phone number, but it was quickly connected. Hearing the classic ringtone, Louis Han was dumbfounded. The phone was quickly connected, and Luo Zhan's slightly frantic voice came over. Hello. Look, it's a problem of luck. I got through as soon as I called. The colleague handed his mobile phone over. Answer the phone. This subtle voice also fell into Luo Zhan's ears, and he asked angrily, who is it? Louis Han clearly saw him in Ireland a few days ago, but hearing this voice, Louis Han felt that he hadn't seen him for a long time. Holding the phone, Louis Han felt a little embarrassed. When he met the colleague's urging eyes, he said, it's me. He thought that there would be a different reaction, such as silence, hanging up directly, or starting to talk about the past. However, to his surprise, there was an angry voice on the other side, shouting, who are you? Louis Han was silent for a moment and said, I haven't seen you for a few days, and you can't even recognize my voice. On the other side, it was indeed Luo Zhan's voice. It didn't sound like he was unconscious, but how could he not recognize his voice? You. Ah, this is Luo Zhan's mobile phone. What the hell, I thought it was mine. Wait a minute. The person on the other side seemed to shout, Luo Zhan, brat, why did you put the phone in my room? Do you want to die? Louis Han was silent for a moment, feeling that the scene was a bit strange. The voice on the other side soon became louder, asking, "Who are you?" It was indeed Luo Zhan's voice. Except for the tone, there was no difference from usual. Lu Yihan felt a little annoyed, laughed, and asked angrily, "Luo Zhan, do you cosplay?" "Luo Zhan is dead asleep. He will ask who you are before deciding whether to answer the phone or not." Lu Yihan, unable to talk anymore, Lu Yihan directly hung up the phone. About a few minutes later, the other side called again. The phone had fallen into the hands of a colleague, who glanced at it and threw it to Lu Yihan. Lu Yihan glanced at the phone number and recognized it was Luo Zhan's at a glance. Stunned, he answered the call. Soon, a sleepy voice came from the other side. "Hello. Who is it?" Hearing this, Lu Yihan was a little angry and said impatiently, "Hey, is it fun?" After a moment of silence, the voice seemed to have sobered up a little and said, "It's you. What's wrong? What's the matter?" In that case, he had recognized him. Lu Yihan was even more annoyed. "My colleague asked you to go to an outdoor barbecue tonight. Bring your girlfriend." "Girlfriend?" Luo Zhan was slightly taken aback, but he quickly recovered. "She's busy. What time is it tonight?" Pfft, acting. How could Luo Zhan have a girlfriend? Lu Yihan said in a bad tone, "I don't know. I'll let you know when the time comes. I'm busy. Bye." Oh. Luo Zhan quickly hung up the phone. After confirming that he hung up the phone first, Luo Zhan inexplicably felt a little happy. Lying down comfortably, Luo Zhan threw the phone aside, but he couldn't fall asleep. Lu Yihan actually asked him to go to an outdoor barbecue and asked him to bring his girlfriend. Suddenly sitting up, Luo Zhan grabbed the phone and dragged his number out of the blacklist. "Wan Lily, are you guys having a quarrel?" Lu Yihan, some Luo Yi is so childish at such an old age, I can't stand it. Chapter 795. Lu Yihan continued to work. At about 4:00 in the afternoon, he suddenly received a call from her. Seeing the two flashing words, Lu Yihan felt like he was dreaming. He was stunned for a moment before he picked up the phone. "Qian. Yihan, are you free?" Lu Yihan glanced at the few lines of code on the computer and nodded. "Yes. Come to the hospital. Grandpa wants to see you." "Grandpa wants to see me." Lu Yihan was even more surprised. Since Li Xiqing came back, Captain Li had not come to him again. Lu Yihan understood, but he never expected that after more than a month, Captain Li would come to him again. "Yes." "Which hospital?" "I'll be right there." Lu Yihan picked up the car key on the table and stood up. His colleague immediately felt that something was wrong and asked, "Where are you going?" "Hurry up and finish your work." "I'm going out for a while. I'll be right back." Then, Lu Yihan was already out the door. Damn, this kid. Lu Yihan ignored the shouts behind him and quickly drove to Kingstown Military Hospital. After arriving at the ward that Su Qinxi mentioned, Li Xiqing and Su Qinxi were both in the room, and the children were also obediently staying in the ward. Captain Li was half sitting in the ward. When he saw Lu Yihan, he sighed. "Little Lu, you are here." "Grandpa," Lu Yihan called. Lu Yihan felt sorry for the old man. This old man was a little older than the last time he saw him. Lu Yihan used to see him often, so he didn't think so. This time, after more than a month, he realized that the old man was not young anymore. "Xiqing, Qian, take the children out first. I have something to say to Lu." Li Xiqing glanced at Lu Yihan and nodded. Then he picked up his daughter and walked out. Lu Yihan and his grandpa stayed in the ward for more than an hour before Lu Yihan came out. Seeing him come out, the eyes of the people guarding outside the ward all fell on him. What did Grandpa say to you? She looked at Louis Han and asked. Louis Han smiled and shook his head slowly. This is a secret between me and Grandpa. Stepping forward, Louis Han patted Li Xiqing on the shoulder and said, Take good care of Grandpa. I still have something to do, so I have to go. Li Xiqing looked at him with a faint smile. That smile made Louis Han very unhappy. Ignoring him, Louis Han put his hands in his pockets and strode away. When he returned to the company, he found that all his colleagues had left. On his computer, there was a note that clearly said, We're going to look for a venue first. You can come over after you've finished your work. Fine, I'll finish it first. Louis Han had no choice but to drop the key and continue his hard coding work. At about 7:00, his phone rang. It was Luo Zhan. Hello. Didn't you say we were going to barbecue outdoors? Where are we going? Luo Zhan's tone was much better than in the afternoon. Louis Han snorted and said, I don't know the number you called this afternoon. I'm in the company. You're upstairs in your company. I just drove downstairs, you can come down. When Luo Zhan said this, his face unconsciously burned. He coughed lightly and said, Don't get me wrong, I just want to go the same way. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.